7-3, the Fan. Good to be here with you on a Friday. Mostly happy because it's Friday, and we all have a couple days off next week, Monday and Tuesday, and I think it's well deserved. I think it's much needed. I think my blood pressure yesterday. What's a really high blood pressure?
Like 145 over 100.
Oh, it was higher. Higher than
160 over 110.
Higher, maybe 190 over 400.
Really seething.
Yeah, all day. My ears were red. I could feel, when you can feel your heart racing a little bit, and you're like, all right, I got to calm down. I'd take a half a Xanax in the middle of the day. I haven't done that in a long, long time. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Ryan. He's our executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
It has been a week.
It's been a week, man. Been a week.
Man.
And we got a big show today. I'll tell you that. Benjamin R. Higgins, friendly neighborhood sports anchor to my left. Benjamin, I wish one of the qualities I admire about you the most is I wish I didn't take everything. I wish I didn't feel everything. And I admire that you are able to do that, to compartmentalize things and let the water roll off your feathery duck's back. I don't have it.
I will tell you the secret. I am a cold, unfeeling person, and that's why I can let things roll off my back.
And I'm very envious of that.
It's not true. I was actually pacing around watching the game yesterday.
Yeah.
My son asked me, "What are you doing? Why are you getting up and sitting down?" And I go, I don't know. This is just stressful, and I can't be still watching this unfold the way it's unfolding. Even though in my heart, I told him long before it happened, they're going to find a way to lose this game. I just know it. And I'm not the bad feeling sort of person.
Yeah.
I like to manifest good things are going to happen, remain optimistic and positive, even in the face of all contrary evidence. I usually try to expect the best, and if the worst happens, we'll deal with it. But yesterday was, I just everything that happened in that game, even when they were ahead 4-0, I looked for signs as to how they were going to lose, and I don't like that. I don't like being negative or expecting the worst, but felt myself doing it yesterday.
Yeah, no question. And it's funny. I used to, when we've been doing this together for 5 years plus, and it used to be for me personally, I'd say, oh no, the Padres lost. How am I going to talk about this tomorrow? It's pretty easy to talk about. It really is, actually. You can get a lot of content out of a team completely crapping their pants. Just like, it's almost easier to talk about than a 9-1 win. Like, they win 9-1 yesterday, and we come in and we say, hey, great job by Joe. Nice job by the offense. You're done. Hey, let's go win the next one.
Good job moving runners over, hitting well with scoring position.
Great. You see that play by Hassan Kim? Phenomenal,
yeah, right? Let's talk about the loyal, I guess.
Yeah. So now it's not even about the content. It's just about it's about the mood. It's about the mood, and it has really nothing to do with. It has nothing to do with the results on the field and me being worried we're not going to be able to fill the time. In fact, I learned this, and it took me a while to learn it. My fear was, hey, man, if the Padres start losing or going down the drain, people are going to stop listening to our show. And so I thought that a few days ago, Adam came, busted in the middle of the show. He goes, this is your highest streaming show to date. I think it was like Tuesday or something after, just horrific losses. So that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I will say this, though, to the people that reach out and say, hey, man, I can't listen. I understand that, but you don't have to tell me. Here's the deal. I won't know if you don't. I will not know if you don't. If you choose to take a few days off of Ben and Woods, I understand why you would want to. You don't got to tell me. I understand.
I also understand. Sometimes just mentally, you can't take the losing every single day.
Sure.
However, I do think that we are all more than just Padres fans here together. Our tier ones, the larger community in San Diego, that we've become something more. We really have become a community. And whatever happens with this community, we need to stick together
No.
through good and bad.
Thick and thin.
It may be bad. It may get worse.
In our case, just thick.
It may. I'm getting a little thinner here. It's just working on it.
I know,
so
we know.
But-
know. This is going to be excruciating.
But the worst thing you can do.
Thin Ben is going to be the worst thing that ever happened to us.
That is true.
Oh no!
That's an actual thing.
Thin
Like
Ben?
it's like not just
No,
Ben,
when
like
just your friend.
It's like the fat guy syndrome.
Loses
where
weight,
becomes skinny. Like you ever know somebody that was a big person?
I will
then
never
they
be
become-
preachy or judgy. I promise.
That's not what I'm worried about.
They become insufferable.
You're going to become insufferable, aren't you? Meanwhile, I'm falling apart physically.
The worst thing is when, if you get someone who loses weight and then they look at you,
Hey.
you can do it. You know what? I'm a little worried about you. You can get this done too. I did it. You can
easy,
do
Michael
it.
Phelps.
It's not that hard. You can make some changes. You can make a few changes. I promise
Not too
you.
late, Woods.
It's so right,
No.
dude.
I won't do that to you. I
It
promise.
is so.
I'm already deciding to cheat later. Aren't we? Your swag, you guys are coming by later.
Oh, they are, and what a nice treat before we go on vacation to be able to suck down one of those Swagyu smash burgers.
But I think the worst thing that you can do, and yes, this is a little self-serving as one of the hosts of this program, don't go it alone now.
Yeah.
Don't
join us.
Don't leave your community. You've got all these people. You've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who are sharing your feelings right now. They feel like you do. Nothing is more comforting or reassuring than knowing you're not on an island suffering through this team, that we are all doing it. You, me, Paulie, the tier ones, Padres fans everywhere in San Diego, all of them are feeling this way. Even the most optimistic, even Ryan Cohen and Marie Coronel, and, the real Pollyanna
hardcores,
optimists are in the torture chamber right now. And I actually take some comfort knowing that we're all in this together. So we will be with you every morning like we always are. We've had a lot of laughs this week. We still will. So you know what? We're here. If you need a day or two, I understand. But for your own sanity and mental health, I'd recommend stick around with all of us, not just our show, but just your fellow Padres fans. Be part of that community going forward.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You're getting thin and I'm falling apart. I went yesterday to see my friends over at West Coast Men's Health, who I talk about on the program a lot, and wanted them to do some work on my hands. My hands have been killing me. I have not fallen out of love with golf, but I have had a really hard time swinging a golf club with my hands, and don't really know what it is. I've got a appointment with an orthopedic surgeon in July, but I'm like, I don't feel like it's orthopedic. So I go in, he has me do a couple of like exercises like this, like my pray, and the pain in my wrist is excruciating. It's like an 8 out of 10. And it's like, and if I bump it on something, yesterday I was playing catch with Bo. He throws the ball high. I go up to get it. I bend my wrist. I drop my glove and doubled over in pain. Right. So I go get the thing yesterday, and he does the treatment on me, and it was funky. Like it felt funky. It's shock therapy on a real tender part of your wrist, and you're just sitting there going, like it just feels. But it felt much better after. So I'm going to continue to go get treatments on it. But dude, he recommended. He goes, it may be carpal tunnel. Do you type a lot? I said, no, I do not. I surf the internet a lot, but I'm not.
Your other job in the steno pool
yes.
is
court reporter
taking you down here.
I said no. And he said, you may want to get, God bless. You may want to get one of those braces. And I go,
they're cool.
God.
Like
They're
a
not.
wrist guard.
Yeah.
Yes, Paulie, a wrist guard.
Xander Bogaerts wears one.
He does. He makes $40 million a year. I am a falling apart middle-aged man, and now who will, I guess, be walking around and working with a carpal tunnel wrist guard on. Then I'll get into bed with my beautiful wife, and I will put on my CPAP machine that arrived yesterday.
Yes.
I mean, what's next? Like what else is gonna happen? Right? Hey, do you want some of this? Hey, are you in the mood right now? Hang on, let me take my wrist guard off so that I may fondle you appropriately. This is horrible.
Can I tell you about
apart.
Depends?
Yeah, next. Oh, hey guys, no big deal, but I've become incontinent and I'm gonna have to urinate in the studio.
It's a new endorsement for Woodson.
God, this is brutal. Like, I don't know.
You're already almost there. I mean, you run out the door after
I told
every
you guys
break,
before the show, I'm like, I'm dying. I gotta hit the head right now. I'm just falling. I'm falling apart physically. I'm falling apart mentally because of this stupid team. And but yeah, so now, cool, man. A CPAP, a wrist guard. Like, what's next? Adult diapers, orthopedic shoes, the big thick soles. What's happening to me?
The giant remote, the huge buttons.
just gonna get big thick glasses like Harry Carey.
Just get your life alert necklace with the button on it. And
what's he? How old are you? I'm 48. Walker, a cane. Like, it's not. I mean, I lived hard in my 20s and 30s, but not hard enough for this. Like, Nikki Sixx is still touring for Motley Crue. Vince Neil looks like a sack of S, but he's still out there doing it. He sounds like death. You know, these guys are thriving. Mick Jagger's thriving in his 80s, and I'm like, I am in. And he doesn't wear a carpal tunnel brace when he's on stage. He probably even wear a knee brace, and I'm like, this sucks. This sucks. If Hannah, I know you're listening. If you want to leave, I understand. I would too. I understand if you want to go. If you need to go.
She had to know what she was getting into when she married a near senior citizen.
God bless. My kids are going to be like, oh, yeah, that's my dad. Yeah, the one in the motorized cart because he can't get around anymore. I mean, this is, it's as dire as it's ever been. So he's like, you might, and I'm on Amazon last night looking for a brace. And I'm like, what do? Do I get the nude one that, like, oh, buddy, we can see your nude brace.
You go with black and just own it.
Maybe put some stickers on it, make it look cool. Yeah, do I go with the nude skin-colored brace?
No, go with black and put a Ben and Wood sticker on it.
You gotta wear it.
You gotta own it, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean, what's next? Eating dinner at 4:30 in the afternoon?
Already do that too. Already do that. So yeah, that's where my head's at today. Today's gonna be a really, really good show. It's 9:00 this morning that we will be joined by AJ Preller, Padres president of baseball operations, general manager. And I think the time it couldn't be better timing. And I want you guys to know out there, this is one that we take very seriously, very seriously. In fact, we did something last night that we rarely do, and we reconvened at about 8:30 on a Zoom meeting to try to figure out what the general tone of this interview needs to be. And I can tell you right now, the pervasive attitude in this room is that AJ Preller has some explaining to do, right? And as the president of baseball operations, you're the president. He answers to one man and one man alone, and that's Peter Seidler. And I don't think today is the day for, hey, AJ, evaluate where your team's at. We know where his team's at. There's 7 games below 500 with 81 left to play. So that one's already been answered. You can see it in the numbers.
Question and answer. That's a waste of 2 minutes.
That's a waste of 2 minutes, Paulie. And so, I'm also not going to punch the guy in his mouth over the radio, but it is important to me. It's important for me, for Padres fans, to hear from him at this point. It really is.
Now, there's somebody in their car right now that just heard what you just said. I'm not going to punch him in his mouth.
Right.
And they're upset at you.
And that's okay. That's okay.
They think you're going to be too soft.
Yeah. I mean, I saw some tweets and stuff this morning on Ben and Woods. And listen, I can't, Paulie, I can't worry about what Mad Flabby says about me and my questions. I can't. What I need to do is I want to try to get to the bottom of this, and I want to know what the solutions are, and I want to hear from AJ Preller the accountability that I heard from Steve Cohen and Billy Epler, because the similarities between the Mets and the Padres are staggering. Same type of manager, less payroll here, certainly, but I do feel it's important to get some answers and to have a little bit of, is contrition the right word?
I never think you want to force contrition out of someone who's. I don't
want to force it. That's the thing.
I don't doubt that AJ's trying to do his job to the best of his ability. I think AJ absolutely probably works as hard or harder than any other general manager in baseball because he wants the Padres to win. So you don't necessarily have to be sorry for that. Now, I think an acknowledgement that some of the choices that he has made are not working out the way that they intended would be appropriate from him. I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but you can't really defend how this team has been put together based on how they've performed in the first half of the season. I got a great example for you. Let's take a break. I got a perfect example for you of a place where AJ could have made the Padres better and instead made them worse in the offseason. Staring you right in the face.
Me?
No.
Oh.
All of us. Yeah, it's staring all of us right in the face.
I was looking right at you. So.
We will get to that. We will wrap up yesterday's gut punch of a 5-4 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates and a 3-game sweep to one of the coldest teams in baseball. I mean, ice cold coming into this series. Lost 12 of 13, couldn't score. Half of their players were in an
5 straight L's to the Washington Nationals and the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Terrible.
I mean, it's rock bottom.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not.
No, I mean, they could lose every game the rest of the season, and I would still say yesterday might have been rock bottom.
That's a bold statement.
It's not rock bottom record-wise, but in terms of,
you're saying rock bottom means it can't get any worse.
It can get way worse. Way worse.
Well, at this point, I don't see any reason to think they're coming back from this. So that's why I call it rock bottom for the season. We'll see. We've got a Daily Ditty selection, Paul's theme, Paul's pick, songs that make you sad, like the Padres. Wow, that theme worked out impressively well this week.
It was
unfortunately,
5 for 5. Yeah, really well done.
We will get to that
it on Monday after 2 losses. They could have won 3 straight, and we'd be like, oh, that kind of looks stupid. But
that is coming up next with Ben and Woods. Glad to have you with us. All eyes focused on 9 a.m. and AJ Preller this morning on San Diego's #1 sports station. Let's check with Kelly, get some traffic here as we start rolling on a Friday. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Good Lord. Whose pick is this?
Mine.
Holy crap. The number one saddest song of all time. That's it.
It's up there.
I mean, imagine you and Megan split and then you hear this song. You want to die. Like there's just
It'd be over. Are you kidding me? It'd be over.
Paulie's like sleeping on the street with a bottle in his hand. Holy cow. You know this one, Benny?
This is Adele, right?
It is Adele.
Yes.
Adele. Holy cow.
Yeah, this one cuts deep.
Yeah.
Someone like you.
Ooh.
Poor Adele.
She's fine.
She had a bad breakup at some point.
Yeah, she's fine.
Somebody messed her
Some
up
heartache.
good, but
Some heartache.
I'd say she bounced back.
You get beautiful art from pain sometimes. So maybe you'll get beautiful art from Ben and Woods today because of the pain that we're feeling. That's up there, man.
All right. Before I get to my example of where AJ Preller could have done something right for the Padres this offseason, but didn't. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Smart and Final. Smart and Final's got your whole 4th of July cookout, from snacks to burgers to drinks and more, at prices that are worth celebrating. Get it all in one trip, and that's it. So yesterday they announced the starters for the NL and the AL for the All-Star game coming up in Seattle on July 11th, a week from Tuesday. And one name stood out to me in particular. Of course, during the offseason, the Padres were in need of a designated hitter. And they went out. What did they do? They went out and signed Matt Carpenter, 2-year deal with $12 million guaranteed between signing bonus, salary, and contract for next year option, and $1 million on Nelly Cruz, which is
Nelly Cruz.
A bargain. You know, anyone would take a flyer for that kind of price on Nelson Cruz. But ultimately, they spent what? $13 million for a season plus of designated hitter. Now, I don't even know that Matt Carpenter...
2 roster spots.
Yeah, 2 roster spots. I don't even know that Matt Carpenter makes it back next year, considering how he's performed this year. You know, I don't know that you can afford a roster spot if he doesn't turn it around. So essentially, you're spending $13 million. The Dodgers, who weren't spending anything this offseason, took a 1-year, $10 million contract and gave it to J.D. Martinez to be their designated hitter. He was named the starter for the All-Star game yesterday for a price point that apparently would have been well within the Padres' budget for a designated hitter. Nothing different. That simply was an evaluation that was made by A.J. Preller in the offseason. We need a designated hitter. He went with Matt Carpenter, Nelly Cruz. Dodgers went with J.D. Martinez, and the Dodgers have been rewarded with an all-star performance and obviously are well ahead of the Padres in the standings. Now, not everything has gone right for the Dodgers this offseason, but that to me is one example of where A.J. Preller could have improved the team in the offseason, and the decisions that he made, at least to this point, have not worked out.
I mean, Sean Murphy would have been a nice addition to the San Diego Padres. For the Braves picked him up. Yeah, man. There's coulda, shoulda, woulda.
It's easy in hindsight to
yeah.
look at the guys who have better numbers than the guys you signed and say, you should have signed that guy.
Right.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah,
And
Bob should have gone to so-and-so instead of so-and-so who gave up 2 runs yesterday.
they don't get a crystal ball.
No.
It would be obvious to them as well. I'm sure AJ would acknowledge, guess I should have signed J.D. Martinez instead of Matt Carpenter as a designated hitter this offseason. But ultimately, that's the job. Whether it's fair or not, whether you can, see the future or not, you're supposed to, as the general manager, put your team in the best position to win, put the best players you can on the field, and in this case, obviously at that position, AJ Preller has not done a very good job for the Padres this season.
Agreed.
Fair?
Yeah, fair.
Okay, those are the kind of questions I would imagine that he will be facing at 9 a.m. when the president of baseball operations and general manager of the Padres joins us here on a Friday on Ben and Woods.
Indeed. Feels like one of those days everybody is going to be listening. So really, really interested to see what he has to say. And I think it's actually, it was a disservice done to him and Peter Seidler, the fact that Steve Cohen and Billy Epler came out and spoke first. I really do. I think now I'm not saying that they absolutely had to do it today, but they absolutely had to. Their hand was forced, I think, by the New York Mets, and who are also mired in a horrific season with a massively high payroll. The only difference between the two teams, Ben, Mets actually have a lot more flexibility than the San Diego Padres do going forward. So it doesn't bode as well for us as it does the Mets.
All right, we will discuss what happened yesterday. We already actually did it a bit yesterday on an emergency YouTube show, but I know not everyone was listening to that. So we will share some thoughts on yesterday's collapse in the late innings and some comments after the game from Joe Musgrove in particular, spicy about the Padres' first half performance. Get to that coming up next with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
That's true.
You'll have to eat money no matter what.
Yeah. You'll be
But
paying for him. He could be sitting on the couch.
There's no guarantee that anyone gets their spot on a 26-man roster next season.
Yeah,
But yes, you are paying for him.
Yes, correct.
Unless
He's not forced.
Unless he opts out. I don't know why he would do that at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to turn down 6 to maybe get 750,000.
You know, Yankees fans, they were kind of genuinely bummed that they didn't get him back in the offseason, too. Just, again, one of those moves that you can defend when it happened.
Sure.
Seemed like it made a lot of sense. And has not worked out well for Preller and the Padres. Again, we'll talk to A.J. Preller this morning at 9 o'clock. Also, Craig Elston on a Friday. Always like talking to Craig. He just celebrated a birthday.
Yeah, I missed it by a day. I was
this
a day
week.
late.
I texted him on his birthday.
Well, thanks for letting the rest of us know.
Well,
I texted
him yesterday.
It was like 9 p.m. I was thinking all day, June 28th. That date rings a bell in my head, but I couldn't remember why. And then finally at the end of the day, I go, now I remember. And I texted Craig. We'll talk to him at 7:35. I'll guess on Ben and Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. All right, we got our Padres wrap up loaded and ready to go. We'll react to yesterday's latest setback for your Friars after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Denick.
Traffic is sponsored by the San Diego County Sheriff's Department. Well, guys, with this big problem on northbound 805 before the 15, an accident involving several vehicles, including a motorcycle. Now, it looks like everything has been pushed over to the right shoulder. We're seeing a ton of brake lights approaching that. So you might want to consider taking northbound 5 instead. In the North County, northbound 15, right at the West 78 connector, we have reports of some debris in the 2 left lanes. The San Diego County Sheriff's Department is working hard to keep San Diego safe and is now hiring. The Sheriff's Department offers rewarding careers with growth and has an opportunity for anyone with integrity that wants to make a difference. Go to joinsdsheriff.net to learn more. That's joinsdsheriff.net. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's a shame if they lose.
You can visit Pity City, but you can't live there.
I'm so sick of this open.
Great day today.
So sick of it.
Can't wait for more.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy live from the Crapper again.
Did you miss any of the Padres game yesterday?
Cancel the parade. That's why you play the games.
Oh, God, here we go.
It's the Padres wrap-up with Ben and Woods.
Slam Diego? More like fail Diego.
Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. On 97.3 The Fan.
I just felt the way that the roster is built, they would have to outscore their opponents to win.
Brilliant. Here's the 0-1. That's lifted in the air out to left center field. Should be deep enough to get the run home. Connor Joe into the gap makes the catch. Cronenworth is tagging. He'll come in and score without a throw. And a sac fly from Ha-Sung Kim gives the Padres a 1-0 lead. 1-0 Padres in the second, and this one's hit in the air to deep right field. Davis will turn around and watch this one. Gonna go! A 2-run homer for Trent Grisham, and a 3-run second inning for the Pods. They're 2-2. And Kim swings, hits it in the air to deep left field. Connor Joe racing back to the wall, twisting and turning. It's gonna go! A home run to left field for Ha-Sung Kim. Second of the day for the Pods, and they lead 4-0 in the fourth. 2-1 pitch in the air to right center field. Odor over into the gap. Grisham there as well. Trent calls him off, makes the catch. Davis tagging from third base. He'll score without a play. It's a sacrifice fly for Nick Gonzalez. And the Pirates on the board now 4-1. Pods as this ball is lined into left field by Davis. McCutcheon rounding third. He's on his way home, so the throw will go into second base. RBI single, Henry Davis, his second hit of the afternoon, and now a 2-run game near the bottom of the sixth. 1-2 to Sawinski. The pitch from Hill is grounded slowly up the first baseline. It is going to be a fair ball. Hill throws it up the right field line. That'll tie the game. Castro had already scored. Now Triolo comes in, and Sawinski ends up at second base. If Hill just picks it up, they get one, but he had to hold on to it. Instead, he tried to get the out at first base, threw it up the right field line, and we're tied at 4. And the pitch is lined into right field, charged by Dixon. He'll have to play it on a hop, and the run's going to score. So Sawinski comes in, and the Bucks lead for the first time today. It's 5-4. First pitch on the way, And he swings, hits a topper to the left of the mound. Bednar can't get there. Triolo charges, throw to first, in time. Ball game is over. Pirates come from behind to beat the Padres this afternoon 5-4. They sweep the series, and for the first time in 2023, the Padres are 7 games below 500.
As I've said all year, we probably haven't gotten our timing right. So we score some runs early. Joe does a nice job. We don't have a ton of fresh arms in the bullpen. With Steven out, that's usually his role. We wanted Timmy at the bottom. We wanted Garcia once it got to McCutcheon. And obviously when you make an error late in the game, it ends up costing you.
It's the Timmy Hill, man. I love you. I love you. I do. I really appreciate the human being that Tim Hill is. Tim Hill has done literally more in this community than any San Diego Padre I've ever seen. He is at every event. He is there with a smile. He cares a lot about San Diego. He hates the Dodgers. Timmy Hill is in the chamber right now. And by the way, the worst part about these errors and these meltdowns, Ben, those are good pitches that Timmy Hill made. That is as a pitcher, that's your dream. Soft contact, rollover. I mean, that is what you live for every single time. And if he just takes that ball and jams it in his back pocket, yeah, you're still, you gave up a run. Can't walk guys. That's at that point in the game, you cannot walk guys. You've got to make the Pittsburgh Pirates of all teams earn their way on base. I love Timmy Hill. I do. He's in the chamber right now, man. He's absolutely in the chamber when it comes to fielding balls. And if you've ever watched a lot of baseball, you've seen guys like that in when we were growing up, Benny, it was Steve Sachs and, six hopper to second. Looks at first base, stares at first base, throws it 40 feet over first base. And you're like, what's your problem, dude? Like, it's the yips. He's got the yips. If you've ever had the yips in golf, it's almost incurable sometimes. And that's what he's got right now. He's very yippy. So I don't know. Now, I think now he's moved himself out of a position where you can put any trust in him late in the game.
Unfortunately, you have to put someone in.
Somebody's got to be there
late in the game, and the Padres really have very few options right now in their bullpen. And Bob Melvin, you heard him. He called it, our timing hasn't been right. Everything just hasn't matched up. I prefer to look at it right now as there's kind of a black cloud, and it shifts around from place to place.
Yeah.
We kept saying Padres need production from the bottom of their order. If they do that, their lineup will be unstoppable. Well, got plenty of production from the bottom of their order. They got 2 home runs from 7, 8, 9. They took a 4-0 lead. Of course, when that happens, what does the top of the order do? Nothing in yesterday's game. They got some great bullpen work earlier. Then that black cloud has floated over the pen, both injuries, mistakes, poor performances, walks like the one we saw yesterday, and errors, of course, by Tim Hill during this stretch of 8 losses in 10 games. The black cloud always exists. It just kind of keeps moving around. It was not on Xander Bogaerts at the beginning of the year, but then it floated over to him. It was on Soto early, came off of him, went somewhere else. But yeah, that black cloud continues to float, and the Padres just can't get rid of it. Kind of like our marine layer for months. It just won't burn off this season for this team.
I feel terrible for Joe Musgrove. I feel terrible for Blake Snell. The starting pitching has really gone out. Reese Kinnear, is not really supposed to be up here. And that's not on Reese. It's not on Bob. That's on AJ Preller, for Reese Kinnear being your only guy you can go to for a spot start, and just ineffective, just completely ineffective. He's not. That's not the right league for him, man. That's not on him. I feel terrible for the starting pitching. I do. And the top of the order yesterday, Tatis with an 0 for 5, Manny with an 0 for 5. I think the top 5 were 3 for 19 with no runs batted in. I mean, it's a broken record. It's a broken record. 3 for 19, and you're not going to get wins that way. Hats off to Ha-Seong Kim for honestly being one of the only starting 9 that looks like he gives a rat's ass to be out there. You guys had a really, really nice month, Ben. A really, really nice month. Hats off to Trent Grisham for at least getting a couple runs on the board yesterday for us as well. We had enough to win that game yesterday. It was the first time, you said it yesterday, Ben. I feel good with Joe on the mound. I said, I do too. I really do. And if anyone's going to stop this thing, I put a lot of faith in Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove is one of the only true leaders on this team. And it's I don't know how many, I've never been in a major league clubhouse, but I would venture to say you probably need one of each, right? You need a leader for the pitching staff and the bullpen, and you need a leader for the clubhouse. Right now, I know who the leader is for the pitching staff. That's Joe Musgrove, period. I believe him when he says they're working. I believe him. I know that his group is working. I see it. They're keeping us in damn near every ball game. I don't know who the leader is for the starting 9. I really don't. I was told Nelly Cruz was going to be a great leader. I was told Matt Carpenter provides a lot of veteran leadership. Manny Machado was a leader in this clubhouse last year. I was told Xander Bogaerts is a brilliant leader in Boston. Is it too many leaders? Somebody's got to crown someone.
I think it still has to be Manny.
I think it's got to be Fernando Tatis, man.
Maybe. I mean, coming off of suspension and everything, that's tough to just assume a leadership mantle at that point. I think with Manny, when he is performing well, he can be a leader. Manny has a lot of self-awareness, I think, at times, and I don't know that he thinks he can be a leader when he's playing as badly as he is right now.
Hosmer did it.
He did.
Hosmer was a leader.
Even though he did not perform, he was acknowledged in the clubhouse as a leader.
I went back last night.
Are you saying that Manny Machado needs to take a page out of Eric Hosmer's book? Learn something from Eric Hosmer.
I don't know. I don't know.
We're not in there.
I mean, okay, let's talk about the guys that I've spoken with. And I can name names on this one. Paulie and I played golf with Matt Strom last year before fantasy camp. Matt Strom said Eric Hosmer is the best clubhouse guy I've ever seen.
We never once brought up Eric Hosmer's
Didn't bring
name.
him up.
Matt Strom brought up Eric Hosmer's name
said guy
6-7 times.
Guy is a leader and people flock to him. Brian O'Grady said, "Oh, Haas is the absolute GOAT." Everybody flocked to him. I go back last night and I'm doing some work for this AJ Preller interview. And
Skip Schumacher.
Yeah, I read this piece in The Athletic that Dennis Lynn, Eno Saris, and Ken Rosenthal wrote about the collapse in 21. And I read it again. I've read it before, but I poured over it. And they were talking about Hosmer and in that article, and they do reference that, oh yeah, everyone gravitates towards Haas. So, I don't know that you have to perform at the highest level to be a leader. I don't. He doesn't. He didn't. He did not perform at the highest level. And I always wondered when he was here, my question was always, all right, let's say I'm Manny Machado or Fernando Tatis and I'm putting up these monster numbers. And then there's Haas leading everybody around, but he's booting balls at first. And at some point, don't the players go, hey, man, I love you, but you're killing this team, right? That's not the case, apparently. And I make no mistake. This is not me saying we need to bring back Eric Hosmer. Let's get that in writing.
And when they got rid of him last year,
the team started rolling.
Well, I mean, they struggled for a month or so,
and
then end of the year in October, they were fine without it. They didn't look like they had a leadership problem in October. That's for sure.
It is a common misconception that because this team went to the NLCS last year, that it was a really great season. I had a blast. It was an 89 win season, though. 87 or 89? 87 win team last.
Oh, no, 89. I think you're right. 89.
89 win team, which is fine. It's fine. But it's not 98 wins, 100 wins, 102 wins. They got hot at the right time. And they got hot against the Mets, and they got really hot against the Dodgers, and that was awesome. But those days are gone. It's another regular season that you didn't get to 100 wins, that you didn't get to 90 wins. And so you're right. That's the misconception of, well, it must have been a successful season because you got to the NLCS.
No, I think you're right about that. In the regular season, I saw a stat recently over the last 162 games. I think Padres are a 500 team or just under 500 over the last 162 regular season games.
Yeah, that's shocking.
They've been a really mediocre regular season team.
And I will never, ever, ever come on these airwaves and say, well, they got lucky. Because it's more than luck to go out and beat Max Scherzer and beat the Dodgers, who won 111 games. That's not luck, man. That's not luck. That is for one moment the baseball gods shining upon you, and you see the ball a little bit better. The ball bounces your way a little bit better, but I don't think that's luck. They outplayed them. They outplayed the Mets. They outplayed the Dodgers. But the thought of entering the playoffs or even seeing 89 games, Ben, seems like a stretch right now at this point.
All right, we will come back. Hour number 2 of Ben and Woods ahead, a game of Take on Woods. We'll continue.
Joe Musgrove audio.
Yeah, we got to play some audio from Joe Musgrove after the game. He uses a colorful phrase to describe the Padres' first half of the season. We will bleep it out and play it for you. That is coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. As always, you can hear Padres games on your smart speaker. Just tell your device to play 97.3 The Fan. Don't get caught off guard today. I almost made a mistake. I thought the game was at 5:10.
Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, that makes sense. It's in Cincinnati, 5:10 Pacific. Why not? That's a 2:10 start this afternoon. A very odd start time for the San Diego Padres in the opener to their 3-game series at the Great American Ballpark in Cincinnati.
You know what? I'll be at, I think, 4 o'clock. I think I will be at an ice cream social for my son's preschool graduation. And so that's good. Get some ice cream in you. And I want to watch the game, but this week's been a tough one. Been a tough hang with the San Diego Padres.
So 2:10 today,
2:10.
1:10 pregame show with Sam Levitt. It was the postgame show, though, where we got some candid comments from the guy who you said is the leader, at least among the pitchers in the San Diego Padres clubhouse, Joe Musgrove. 81 games in, the Padres 7 games under 500, season worst, 5 losses in a row. They are 10.5 games out of first place behind the Arizona Diamondbacks in the NL West, and 8 games out of a wild card spot behind the San Francisco Giants at this moment, with 81 games left in the season. No one, and I repeat, no one saw the Padres being here at this point. I think you could have asked the hateriest of hatery Dodgers fans at the beginning of the season who said, these Padres, they're overrated, they're going to stink. And if we had asked them, well, what's their record going to be at the All-Star break? Oh, man, they're awful. They'll be 38-44. I mean, I think even a hater might have had the Padres with a better record than they actually have at this point. Does that jive with what your perception of where the Padres were at the start of the season?
Yeah. I mean, what are the Giants at right now?
Giants are 8 games ahead of the Padres.
But what's their record? They would have said something similar to whatever the Giants' record is right now.
The Giants are currently in your 45-36, 9 games above 500.
In your worst case scenario, I think in the haters' worst case scenario, it would have been, they'll be 5, 6, 7 games over 500, just limping into the break. I mean, limping into the break is absolutely correct. No one thought this would continue like this.
So obviously they see it in their own clubhouse, and Joe Musgrove talked about what this Padres first half has been like for the San Diego Padres after the game yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's been really bad all around too, and it's not, we say it all the time, and I know from the outside it looks like a bunch of overpaid guys not performing, but I mean, sometimes there's just no answer. We're going through it right now, and everyone sees it. We feel it for sure. But if you think this team's rolling over, you're sorely mistaken. We're trying to find out what it is. We're switching up routines, taking different approaches. Having meetings, we're talking about all these things, and it's just not going our way right now. And it feels like every loss that goes by just piles on and piles on and piles on. So we just, we need to put a couple good games together here and get on a little bit of a run and start finding our identity. But there's plenty of fight left in this team. We haven't played our best ball yet, and we're damn sure not giving up yet.
I love Joe. I do. I've heard this before. I have. I have heard all of that before. Not from him.
We've heard it from other people. Does it make a difference because it's coming from Joe and his added credibility of who he is?
A little bit.
Does it make a difference that he said horse dung?
No, it's a baseball locker room. I would expect way worse.
Padres have played like it in the first half of the season.
And they have. They have.
He said, I know it looks like a bunch of overpaid players who are underperforming.
I like that quote.
I mean, it doesn't look like it.
No, it is. That's what it is.
Exactly
right
what it is.
The proof is in the pudding. That's what it looks like, because that's what it is. You have guys that are making a lot of money that aren't performing up to their standards.
He says that they're trying to change. They're trying to change things up. They're meeting. They're mixing up their routines, doing everything you can, as I think any one of us would.
Sure.
If you are in a rut, whatever the rut is, whether it's at work, at home, how do you change a rut? You change your routine. You mix things up. That's the Padres are like the rest of us in that sense, that they're trying different things and they're not finding anything that seems to be working at the moment. And that's obviously frustrating to Joe Musgrove. The one thing that I know that you have questioned, that fans have questioned, when they go out on the field, it's not a team that looks like it has a tremendous amount of fight. The way they fall behind and never come back, the way they don't score runs after the 6th inning.
They also said they don't have a tremendous amount of fight.
Joe
just said it.
Joe just said this team has no quit in them, that they will keep fighting and they will never stop fighting. You'd be sorely mistaken if you thought this team lacked fight.
I don't want to beat this dead horse for the third day in a row, but when we get down 1-0, we're like, here we go. That doesn't say we're ready to fight. Right? Like, imagine a football team saying, well, when the other team scores, we're like, well, that's it for us. Now you got 3 more quarters. And in a lot of cases, the Padres, when they get down in the 6th inning, you got 3 more innings after that, Ben. And these losses are embarrassing. It's so tough to watch. And I hate that feeling of impending doom. That's what you feel. Even you, who really never feels that, you hate the same old Padres. Now this is Padresing. You hate that because it was supposed to be a new era. Those days were supposed to be gone.
I mean, so the Padres essentially, they have human nature like the rest of us.
They do.
When they keep seeing something going badly,
they start to believe
eventually you start to expect that bad things are going to happen. You can't necessarily stop yourself. That is human nature. You see it, you start to expect it. You get trained to it. You get numb to it. And that's where the Padres have gotten. They've gotten to an incredible point. Now, we've seen other teams it happen to, and they get out of it. You know how they do it? Win a couple of games, something good happens, you get a walk-off home run, it changes the confidence. Padres just can't, just luck into one at some point. Yeah. Luck into a late rally somewhere. I can count on one hand. Odor hit a home run in Washington in the 9th inning. Honestly, I can't think anything else all season long, like a moment like that where they actually showed some late fight in a game to win. I can't think of another one in 81 games. That's incredible that you could play 81 games and only have one off the top of my head where I can feel like, wow, they showed late fight. And by the way, they blew a 5-1 lead in that game, I think, as well. So, all right, we need a contestant for Take on Woods, 833-288-0973. This is the end of June, last day of the month to qualify for our trip to Las Vegas. Get in that drawing. Be ready. You may get your name called next week, a phone call. That'd be good news. I'm going to Las Vegas concert, couple of nights at the Resorts World. Call us now, 833-288-0973. Going to play some Take on Woods. And then don't do this. Craig Elston at 7:35. AJ Preller, president of baseball operations, general manager of the San Diego Padres. However the interview goes, and I'm not expecting, AJ's not going to change who he is this morning. He's still going to be AJ. I'll give him credit for coming on. He should come on. He needs to talk to the fans, but I will still give him respect for doing it. He has to know that this is not going to be like when we talked to him at spring training. It's not going to be.
We talked to him. We talked to him a month
running
ago.
into him at Fan Fest. This is different sort of interview today.
Yeah, we talked to him a month ago. I had Paulie replay it for me this morning, and honestly, I believed him what he said then. It's going to be harder for me to stomach this morning hey, we just need to get it going and go on a run. I think there needs to be something clear about a direction of this team, and if he thinks he should be a part of that too. I think that's an important question to ask.
He can legitimately, if he believes it, say, hey, I think the group we have right now is going to turn this around. Their talent will rise, to the level that we expected. And I will say to AJ, well, AJ, the fans don't believe it anymore.
Not at all.
They don't believe it anymore. You've given them no reason to believe that that's the case.
Yep. Agreed.
So what are the moves you're going to make? Is it personnel? Is it coaching? Is it philosophy? Is it strategy? Is it front office? What are the moves that you can make right now to try to change the course of this season? And if you can't, what are you going to do about the future?
Right.
And this roster that you have really given yourself almost no flexibility, it looks like, going forward.
How can you improve the health of the franchise without punting on 2024?
Right. Are the goalposts?
He would be punting on 2023.
Are the goalposts moving again? Are the goalposts moving again for this team? Does the window now start next year? Right. And that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And the other thing is this, man. AJ, Peter, all of the people in the front office, they're insulated from a lot of this rhetoric. They're insulated from a lot of feedback. We're not. We're not insulated. We're the opposite of insulated.
They can search it out if they so choose.
Yeah,
but they're not on the front lines.
They're not. They don't have to hear this every day, and I don't know that they should read it all every day. It would certainly cloud my decision making if I were in charge. Yet another reason I'm not in charge, Ben. But they need to know what the fans are saying, and the fans are saying things like, "I'm not renewing. I'm not watching anymore." Is that dramatic? I don't think so. 6 weeks ago, I said, just relax. Let's let them play. We're at the halfway mark. We're at 81 games, and this team is going nowhere but down right now.
We're patient for morning talk show
100%.
hosts talking about it. One team in particular. We're pretty patient guys.
Not anymore.
It's tough. I think it'd be unwise to be patient now. All right, let's play our game, and we're going to continue this discussion, but it's time for Take on Woods. All right, let's wrap up the month of June. Let's go with Brian. Brian, welcome to Take on Woods. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. As I mentioned, you're playing for that Resorts World getaway. The tickets to Luke Bryan, August 30th, September 9th. Tickets and VIP packages on sale now at access.com, AXS.com, RWLasVegas.com. You just need to beat or tie Woods in 5 questions of musical trivia, and we'll put your name into the grand prize drawing. Here are your categories to choose from: lie, cheat, or steal. Mix of songs and artists, including any of those 3 words. This category, again, 5 song titles that all end in the word again. And But Who's Counting? Category all about counting. So lie, cheat, or steal. This category again, or But Who's Counting? Brian, what would you like to play?
Oh, how about lie, cheat, or steal?
Lie, cheat, or steal. Why not? All right. Today we're looking, again, for a mix of songs and artists, including either the words lie, cheat, or steal. You get 60 seconds. If you don't know an answer, say pass. We'll come back to it at the end. Start with our 2-second song. Listen to the music Paulie plays. Give me the title and the artist to score that point, and we'll go from there. And Woods comes in. We compare scores, and, well, you know how it works. Brian, you ready to play?
Yeah,
all right, 60 seconds on the clock. The category lie, cheat, or steal. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Brian. Let's take on Woods.
Pass.
Len isn't short for Leonard. It's a pair of Canadian brothers famous for which 1999 song?
Pass.
Carrie Underwood does a good deal of damage to her no-good ex's 4-wheel drive in which revenge-themed 2006 hit?
Oh, my gosh. I love that song. Pass.
Before Baker Street, Jerry Rafferty was a member of which Scottish band famous for the 70s classic Stuck in the Middle with You?
Steelers Wheel.
Correct. The sounds of singer Perry Farrell's dog barking can be heard on the track of which top hit by the band Jane's Addiction?
Oh, I can hear it. Pass.
Go back to our 2-second song.
No, pass.
All right, Carrie Underwood. Now we got the one, but that's all today, Brian. You got Steelers Wheel. That was Little Lies by Fleetwood Mac. Paulie played. Len is famous for the song Steal My Sunshine. Carrie Underwood, that is maybe my favorite country song of all time. Before He Cheats is what that one's called. You got Steelers Wheel, and the last one is Been Caught Stealing by Jane's Addiction, their biggest hit. I don't think that's going to do it, but we'll see. Let's bring Woodsy back in. Brian, hang on the line.
Never know.
Never know, but I don't know if he's ever taken a 0. All right, he doesn't get the category, though. That definitely makes it tougher. Don't think he's going to figure this one out either. I don't know. Maybe that helps him out. All right, 60 seconds back on the clock. Your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on Brian.
Everywhere Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, no. Len isn't short for Leonard. It's a pair of Canadian brothers famous for which 1999 song?
Steal My Sunshine.
Correct. Carrie Underwood does a good deal of damage to her no-good ex's 4-wheel drive in which revenge...
Before He Cheats.
Correct. Before Baker Street, Jerry Rafferty was a member of which Scottish band famous for the 70s classic Stuck in the Middle with You?
Steelers wheel.
Correct. The sounds of Perry Farrell's dog barking can be heard on the track of which topic
Been
by
caught
the
stealing.
All right, you got 4. You missed the song, though. That was Fleetwood Mac.
It
just wasn't everywhere. Tell me sweet
tell me
little
lies.
lies. And the category, lie, cheat, or steal.
Oh, did I win or what?
You did, 4-1, yeah. Little lies, steal my sunshine. Before he cheats, Steelers wheel, been caught stealing.
I didn't know Jerry Rafferty was in
Steelers wheel.
Steelers
I
wheel.
know. But you did know Stuck in the Middle with You. Famously used in the soundtrack to Reservoir Dogs.
You going to bark all day, little dog, or are you going to bite? So good.
All right, let's take a timeout. We got Don't Do This coming up next. And I got a nice do this moment. I actually watched a little bit of the match last night. I didn't even know it was on. And then there it was on TNT with Steph Curry taking on Patrick Mahomes in golf in Las Vegas.
You just can't help yourself.
I would have rather watched the guy blowing leaves in my neighbor's backyard for an hour than watch
the golf
match.
wasn't good, but you know who's always good? Ernie and Chuck.
Oh,
And
yeah.
They were on the broadcast. So I stuck with it for about 30 minutes, and I got to do this moment out of it.
Good.
That is coming up next after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
Don't do this.
It's time for Don't Do This.
What were you thinking?
3 stories from the world of sports that make us all shake our heads.
Why? How many times do I have to tell you?
I'm sorry, I fudged up, guys.
You idiot. You moron.
Dumbass. The apple sometimes does fall from the tree.
Don't Do This
Do not tweet that.
with Ben and Woods
I like a Nickelback song or two.
on 97.3 The Fan.
To be perfectly honest, I am hoping we don't end up in a Don't Do This after our AJ Preller interview. We got to get it right today, Woods.
I kind of hope we do.
No pressure. Coming up at 9 a.m. this morning. I'll go first today. PGA Tour in my Don't Do This crosshairs this morning. Hey, maybe you should take some of that Saudi Arabian money you're getting and invest it into some facilities for your star players. Ricky Fowler's having a really nice season, was in contention at the U.S. Open. Hasn't gotten a win, but
facilities like a putting green, a nice driving range.
No, not those kind of facilities. I'm talking about,
a crapper.
Everybody's facilities. Ricky playing well yesterday, first round of the Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit. He's 7 under through 16 holes, but then all of a sudden finishes bogey, and 5 under, not a bad round, but he was asked after the round, well, what happened at the end there, Ricky?
I mean, to be perfectly honest, I had to go to the bathroom pretty badly. So luckily I just got drug tested, so I went straight in. There weren't very many bathrooms the last 5 holes, so I was a little shaky coming in, and not to necessarily blame the finish on that, but it didn't help.
Ouch.
Poop?
Sounds
one
like
or 2.
Sounds like 1, because when he said I needed to be drug tested, that they needed
they don't do
a
that.
sample.
They don't do the Cologuard box for your drug test. Every time I see that commercial, I laugh. Every time.
I'll do it my way.
You've tested positive for fiber and little pieces of corn.
Oh. It's the worst visual you've ever presented. I'm going to vomit in my mouth now. What is wrong with you?
Sorry, I always feel like I chewed that. I did. How does it come back?
Paulie, I got to go.
I'm with you, actually.
I got to go, man. I have to go. I can't, contract negotiations. I don't know that I should sign it. I really don't know that I should sign it right now. I'm really questioning everything.
Had a good run.
I need to go to the Aaron Rodgers cave for 3 days during this break and find out if I need to resign. Sit in a room and marinate.
Come on, it happens to everyone.
He's so graphic, though.
Disgusting.
He loses 15 pounds and he's Howard Stern. Oh, boy. There's a new one on me this
We
morning.
literally just said you guys hope you don't end up on Don't Do
Yes.
This.
We're already there.
All right. So Paris Saint-Germain coach Christophe Gaultier and his son have been detained, Ben, as part of an investigation into racism allegations at one of his former clubs. Gaultier and his son, Jean Volvic Gaultier, I love speaking in the French that I know, were placed in custody for racist comments. He has denied accusations he made racist and anti-Muslim comments when he was in charge of the French club at Nice when the scandal broke earlier in the year. I'll be honest with you. No, you can get arrested for racism here, I think.
Well, I mean, like if you
like at a Klan rally,
you paint
yeah.
racist stuff on someone's house. Obviously,
yeah.
yes. But just for saying something, like writing something racist in an email, you can get arrested.
I don't know what he did. Oh yeah, it was a leaked email.
Yeah.
What? He says in there were too many black and Muslim players on the squad. That's what he said in there. Wow. And he's been detained. So.
There are a lot of sports fans in this country.
Yeah, that would be up a creek.
Would be in trouble if that was the case here.
100%.
Unfortunately.
100%.
Sad. All right, let's finish with a doo-doo this story on a Friday.
You just did a doo-doo this.
No, it wasn't. We're not done yet.
DD mega doo-doo.
There we go. I will admit I had completely forgotten about the match at the win in Las Vegas yesterday. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce took on Steph Curry and Klay Thompson in a 12-hole round of golf. Beautiful course. Mic'd up, got their carts. And it turned out Travis Kelce was a much better golfer than I thought he would. I thought Steph Curry was the man in that group, but Travis Kelce played great. Those two guys won the match, but late on, the broadcast on TNT, you got Ernie Johnson, Trevor Immelman was there, and Charles Barkley sitting on the desk. And Charles, unbeknownst to anyone else up there, had a little surprise bit of news for his good friend, Ernie Johnson.
Ernie.
Guys, can I say something, Ernie?
I think you already are.
Okay. This is big. This is big. I want to be the first. I'm the only person up here knows this. I want to be the first person that's an honor and a privilege to congratulate Ernie Johnson going into the Sports Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Chuckster, what are you talking about?
They told me, and they said, would you do this? I said, be an honor. It's an honor and a privilege to tell you, Ernie Johnson, congratulations, brother.
Yeah.
Man, that is awesome. Thank you so much. And you know what? I'm taking the rest of the day off. Thank you, guys. And whoever is responsible for that, whoever votes on that, I am humbled beyond words. So
love Ernie.
He's the absolute best.
Dude, I'm gonna start crying thinking about
Yeah.
the stuff with his kids.
Oh.
So I can't. I'm like, I can't. We have to move on.
Couldn't happen to a better guy, more talented guy.
He's unbelievable, and we've had him on the show a few times. And every time he's, hey guys, you're like, oh my God, that's Ernie freaking Johnson. One of my favorites, my Mount Rushmores.
And an absolute deserving inclusion into the Sports Broadcaster Hall of Fame.
It's so rare.
Honestly, I think he should end up in the NBA Hall of Fame at some point.
100%.
I mean, he's that important to what the modern NBA has become and how we watch it.
Could not agree more. I'm not even an NBA fan, and his show is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And
it's just the best.
A better human.
I read his book.
Did you?
Yeah.
I want to read that, man.
If I can find it, I'll
probably weep while reading that.
It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, in this business full of straight up psychopathic, backstabbing buttholes, he stands above all. So congratulations, Ernie. What a well-deserved honor.
And do this for a Friday. Now you can play it, Paul.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we got our buddy Craig Elston joining us. We will talk more Padres baseball with Craig and get a Crossing Streams recommendation as we do each and every Friday. It's always hard to, we got limited time and so many options out there now. Craig helps us whittle it down a little bit for our streaming viewing pleasure. Get to that coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. The Fan is brought to you by Cars.com. Whether you're looking for the perfect summer road trip car or something you can zip around in, visit Cars.com today. They have over 2 million cars for your 2 million summer possibilities. Head to Cars.com. Check out the possibilities. Cars.com. Where to next? Where to next for this program is our weekly conversation with Craig Elston and some Crossing Streams recommendations. We'll talk some Padres as well right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the premier auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Speeds are slowly getting back to normal on northbound side of the 805 since they cleared that crash right before the 15. Now northbound side of the 5, we're seeing some slowing toward this accident, blocking one of the right lanes right past the 8. And Kelly Danick with Ben and Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Let's go out to our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline, and let me first wish a happy belated birthday to our friend Craig Elston from the San Diego Sockers, the Padres Hot Tub Podcast, and the Padres Crossing Streams, well, just the Crossing Streams Podcast. Hello, Craig. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Ben. Appreciate it, Woods. I sent a nice text as well. And yeah, we're not gonna cross the Padres with the Crossing Streams. We got to keep something pure.
That's true. We need a break every once in a while from our San Diego Padres. Well, I know you and I lived through some really, really dismal days of Padres franchise history when we were hosting the pre and post game show. But to me, the difference now is, of course, back then there were very little expectations. And this time around, the fan base has been hyped up. You know, the championship dreams and aspirations felt extremely real, which may have made that the most bitterly disappointing half of a baseball season that this town has ever seen. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only possible other contender is 2015, which was somehow, I feel like it was equally hopeless, but maybe there was still at least a little bit of a flicker of a dream at this point of the year that the team could get it turned around. But that was also a team laden with expectation and also laden with some players who were not going to perform the way that the old backs of their baseball cards used to. But I don't even think it's in the same ballpark, but it's not on the same part of the field. 2023 stands alone right now. And the thing that's so incredible, guys, like at 34 and 41, you pretty much understand, like, this isn't a great baseball team. You know, the 7 games under 500 or whatever the exact number is. This is a team that's got some real issues 81 games into the season. And yet they've managed to be the team that's like managed to ace the sabermetrics test while failing everything else. They have a positive run differential. They've got easy things you can point to. Their runners in scoring position numbers, their 1-run game performance, the fact that in terms of pitching WAR and hitting WAR, they're a top 10 team in the league. And so that's why you're hearing the, national columnists, the 30,000-foot view be like, just, don't worry about it. The Padres are going to even things out over time. The problem is, guys, now evening things out equates to probably getting to 81 wins at the end of the year because you're that far behind and you're 8 games out of the last playoff spot. It's time to stop pretending that this is a weird thing we're in the middle of and start reacting to where we are.
No, it's an excellent point. And there's a lot of mirages, the bullpen ERA is this, you mentioned the run differential, look at the barrel rate and look, and Eno Saris, who I love and respect greatly. I mean, he's one of those guys, he comes on, he says, I'm looking at the numbers and it should start to turn around. He's not the only one. He's not the only one at all. A lot of our guests that are really, really smart baseball people. It's why we have them on. They're much smarter than we are. Craig, they tell us the same thing. It's not as bad as it appears, but I as somebody that watches this team find new ways to lose every day, I'm like, no, it's as bad as it appears. It's bad and maybe even worse, and certainly getting worse.
Ben, there's been times that you have brought up how I grew up a Dodger fan, grew up in Long Beach, transitioned over times. And Woodsy, I brought this up on Tuesday's Padres Hot Tub. The teams that I watched growing up that this team has reminded me of were the late stage Piazza Caros LA Dodgers.
Yes.
Those teams with 5 straight rookies of the year. but famously were known as 25 players, 25 taxi cabs back when you took taxis.
Yep.
Guess now it would be 26 players, 26 Uber pluses.
At least, yeah.
the modernization of that. But it was a team that didn't really fight for each other, didn't have chemistry, would hit a 2-run homer in the first inning and stop scoring, would get up 2 or 3-0. And then if the other team came back, went, okay, well, I guess it's not our day. And that's really been what we've seen from the Padres. And the most disturbing thing, I think, is that this team is where they are, 7 games under 500, and they have had, short of a couple of injury issues, they've had about as good a run pitching as you could have asked from this roster. Yes. Michael Walker pitching the way he's pitched, and now his shoulder's tired. You know, yeah, Joe Musgrove got off to a rough start. Blake Snell is pitching like 2018 Blake Snell and has been for 2 months. So the idea that, okay, well, all we need is for the offense to click and this team can go on a roll. No, all you need is for the offense to click for weeks at a time, which it hasn't, and for the pitching, which has been this good for 3 months, to stay this good for the next 3 months through the summer. That's a really, really tough ask. And guys, I've been boiling it down, and I've done it on your show too. Simple numbers. We set a target record for the team to get to by the All-Star break so that they would be allowed, kind of like be in the right place where you could really make a good buy move.
And they can still do it, right, Craig?
Yeah, they can still do it. They just got to win all 9.
Yep.
The rest of the way, go 9-0. But I got a new target now. And this is the floor target. There's 9 games before the All-Star break. If the Padres don't win 5 of these 9 games, they will be finishing the All-Star, getting to the All-Star break somewhere around 8 games under 500.
Yep.
You aren't allowed to buy anything if you're there. If you miss the floor target, you can't even stand pat and hope this team turns around. Now is when you've got to look at, we've got Blake Snell, top pitching starter right now in baseball. We have no connection to him next year. This is a movable asset that could help this team. And I want to bring up, guys, a very specific team before we transition, because there's a lot of thought of, well, what could, if you ever sold off this team, everyone's going to riot. How could you possibly rebound and compete for a championship next year? So I wanted to bring up the 2012 Boston Red Sox. You know, the Red Sox were in a long run battling the Yankees for the top of the American League East. And of course, they won championships in 2004 and 2007. They were 90-win teams in 2010, 2011. And then in 2012, it all fell apart for the Boston Red Sox. They had a year that was kind of like what's going on here in San Diego, a really, really bad year. And in August of that year, the Red Sox traded Adrian Gonzalez and Josh Beckett and Carl Crawford to the LA Dodgers. They moved the core of their team. They moved 3 huge parts of their championship core or intended championship core to Los Angeles. In 2013, the Red Sox won the championship. They regained flexibility. They regained the ability to retool their roster. And I know AJ's coming on later. I don't think it's all doom and gloom if this team has to pivot, but it can't be a rebuild. It's a pivot. It's something like the 2012 Red Sox. Those are the types of moves. If we don't hit that floor target, guys, we've really got to start thinking about that.
Talking to Craig Elston here. We'll get a Crossing Streams recommendation, but as you mentioned, we are having AJ Preller on, and while I'm not throwing this question out to everyone, I will give it to you, Craig, and say, what would you ask if you were in our shoes coming up at 9:00 this morning?
Because I will steal it and take credit for it.
I mean, I think the thing I'm most curious about right now, and it's a good question, Ben. I don't know if he'll be able to answer it, but I want to know what I think Padre fans want to know is, does AJ Preller have the ability to be flexible with this plan, or is it all or nothing?
Yeah, are you all in?
We keep hearing all in.
Yep.
Okay, all in is one hand of poker. you don't just shove your chips every single time before you look at the cards, right? Like there has to be more than you have to be able to switch gears at some points. And for all the criticism, and he deserves a lot of it over his tenure, AJ Preller has in the past shown the ability to pivot. And 2016 was the most famous pivot, and it had the best deal that AJ Preller has ever made. So does he feel, he can't answer this in this way, but is this a situation where AJ Preller feels like all I can do is trade Jackson Merrill, trade Lesko, trade Salas, trade Snelling,
sure.
everything that's under the tent to try and get a starter or a first baseman or something? Or does he feel confident enough in his position that he'd be willing to move a free agent like a Snell, a Hader, a Waka, who could leave this place at the end of this year too? Some of the things that aren't tied down, does he have that ability? Could he make a trade that moves a Blake Snell and a Jake Cronenworth and gets off of a big mistake that gives the team flexibility to either keep Merrill or to keep Kim going forward? That idea, is there a flexible dynamic at which point he reevaluates and says, you know what, I'm still going to be here in 2024. I'm going to be here in 2025. I don't have to panic. I can make the right move to make this team better for tomorrow. I don't know if that's in his mindset, and that's not an easy question to ask, guys, but that mindset is the thing I think all Padre fans have to be the most curious about.
Well, and it's also not an easy answer to stomach, Craig, because it was all in, man. We're going to win the division. We're going to win the World Series, and this is the money we spent. These are the players we have. And now here we are, 81 games in, and we're going to allow another pivot from the San Diego Padres. And I understand that's how you have to live your life. I understand that's how you have to do business. That's unacceptable, though. It's unacceptable, and it needs to be changed. And it can't just be good money after bad, load, unload, reload, load, unload, reload. It's been 9 years of that, and there's been one winning season. And that's where my biggest beef is like, how many more shots do you think you have in you, to reload it? And he very well may pull off the fleece of the century, the Herschel Walker deal, right? And set this team up for success for the next decade. But I don't know that I can buy into that right now. That's not what I was promised. And that's not what, Padre fans were promised.
Well, I'll tag it like this. The types of things that you generally hear, either from callers to your show or stuff you see on Twitter, etc., I don't want any of that from AJ Preller. I don't want any of that. If it's going to be, we're going to fire Bob Melvin. And I even saw the ex-UT editor Posner just go, well, maybe you should. It's worth a try. Like, no. Bob Melvin is a good manager who has been given a box of rocks here that has not put together the way that anyone anticipated. AJ Preller doesn't get to pick the next manager. If we're going to go down that road, it's got to be Preller gone, new person in, that person figures out what direction we go. And I'd be curious, but that's that's what I was driving at, Woodsy.
Yeah,
are we out of ideas?
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Craig, let me ask you this. If AJ Preller finds himself with a lot of time on his hands soon to watch streaming television
where would he go?
Catch up on some good shows, what would you recommend to him?
I mean, get a max subscription and just get started.
Remember the Titans.
Start rolling. Yeah, I mean, we can give some baseball recommendations too. Start with Bad News Bears. You might want to consider Kelly Leak for some options. All right, let me talk about two tremendous shows that are on right now. One of which I know you guys, or at least some of you guys, have been watching, which is The Bear on Hulu.
My God.
So
I'm almost through season 1. I can't wait for season 2 now.
I need to go to therapy after one of those episodes in season 2. Holy crap.
So The Bear, we did talk about it last year, and it was one of my top 10 shows of 2022, guys. The Bear, created by Christopher Storer, a native Chicagoan. This is a show that in season 1 is set in an original, Chicago beef restaurant serving Italian beef sandwiches, and has this energy to it and vitality. It crackles. It's deeply uncomfortable. You get the feeling of almost getting burned by a plate going by as you're back in the prep area. Season one of the best things on television. Season two is just, it kept going. Like, I got to be honest, I started the week by watching the season one finale and going, I don't even know if I want to watch season two. Season one was so good. How could they get better? But they truly have continued to evolve. It's a great character study. It is a show that does get incredibly intense at times. I'm going on vacation next week. When I come back, Jay Zawoski from CHGO will be joining me for a full Bear recap on Crossing Streams. But I give everyone a couple weeks to get caught up on the Bear. One of the best, most intense, really artistically done half-hour generally shows. Occasionally one will stretch out to a longer size, but one of the best shows, one of the great independent shows. You have to watch it, The Bear on Hulu. And the other one, guys, and this is Woodsy, it's The Righteous Gemstones.
Oh, yes. Baby Billy.
On Max.
Baby Billy.
I enjoyed
Danny
that
McBride
one too. Yeah.
Baby Billy's the
as
best.
Funny as it comes.
He's the best thing on TV. Billy. He's unbelievable.
Absolutely. To me, the key is Edie Patterson.
Yes.
On The Righteous
Phenomenal.
Gemstones, who is one of the funniest people working on television. But Gemstones is in the Danny McBride style. It's brash. It's aggressive humor at times, but that is one that my wife and I will sit down and just die laughing each Sunday.
Genius.
There are now 3 episodes out, 4th one coming out Sunday. So if you're looking for something intense and then a great kind of refresher afterwards, a spritzer of laughter, I would say The Bear, and follow it up with The Righteous Gemstones.
Great
There he
timing.
is,
Look at
Craig
that.
Elston.
Right
Yeah.
on the nose.
He knows radio. He's a
Woo!
pro.
He is a pro.
He's a pro. Hope you had a good birthday. Enjoy the 4th of July. Have a good week. Thank you so much, Craig.
Take care, boys. Talk to you in a couple weeks.
Craig Elston on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. We're back. We're an hour away from AJ getting nervous time here on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, my friends, we are halfway home on a Friday, big Friday on Ben and Woods. Certainly, I would venture to say this is probably the biggest interview we've ever done. Certainly, because I think the situation
right up there with Lee Lowenfish.
I'm going to wear Lee Lowenfish for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I feel like if you had just bought in to Lee Lowenfish, and if you had bought into the energy healer,
yes,
maybe
it's my buy-in that's the problem.
Maybe we wouldn't see him. Maybe we wouldn't be seeing what we're seeing. We are Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, and that is Ben Higgins.
Good morning to you.
Morning.
And thank you to Craig Elston, who made, I thought, some excellent points as we were talking about the Padres yesterday, or in our last segment, about pivoting and what A.J. Preller can do going forward. Now, there is the possibility, as Craig said, of turning around the season still, as long shot as it seems. But I thought he made a great point and said, yes, the offense needs to perform better. But it's not just that. The pitching staff can't regress. We're already seeing it in the bullpen. You can't go on a run if you can't close out games.
Right.
And there's no reason to think right now that the Padres have the ability, even if they get out to 7-4 leads, that the bullpen, at least on a daily basis, is going to be able to close them out. Sure, Josh Hader will come in a couple times and close the door if you get it to the ninth inning.
In a month.
But you got to get it to the ninth inning. You don't have starters who are pitching 8 innings every day and handing it to your closer. So, maybe they get healthy. They get Steven Wilson back. Maybe Robert Suarez comes back at some point and the bullpen looks good. But you also have to avoid the pitching staff, the starters taking a step back. We even this week, Waka, Darvish missing starts, and the chaos it causes because of the lack of depth. There are so many things working against the Padres right now, even if the offense suddenly figured it out and went on a tear. Now, what does a tear look like?
1-0, one game.
1-0, sure.
Bob Melvin said it yesterday.
Here's what Bob Melvin had to say yesterday.
Well, we got to put these things away, and we got to be mentally tough, and we got to, at some point in time, start over and understand that, this isn't what we wanted. There's nothing we can do about it. And we have to have a big second half. We have to have a really big last 81 games. But I think more than anything, it's about just winning a game to get us to start, because we're having trouble doing that right now.
There's your tear.
That's absolutely correct.
That's your tear.
From a team perspective, you can't win more than one game in a day. You can't erase a 7 games under 500 deficit in a day. You can't get back into the wild card race in a day. All you can do every day is win one game. That should be their attitude every single day. Now, big picture, from a fan's perspective, could the Padres get back into it? July starts tomorrow. Could they get back into it by the start of August and the All-Star break? Well, I've got a great example for you. Just ran across it. The Philadelphia Phillies, 1 month ago, were 7 games under 500, right where the Padres are now. And since then, they have won 18 of 23 games. They are 18-5, and they are now 6 games above 500, and they're a game and a half out of a wild card spot. They had a terrible start. Were looking really bad. Figured it out, had played a great month of June, and they're absolutely in position to go for it. They want to add pieces. They can do what they want here going into July because they went on that run. It was that they played really well, though, and that's what it would take for the Padres to get back in it. 18-5 in July gets you back to 6 games above 500 and probably within a couple of games in a wild card race going forward. I mean, we all sign up for that instantaneously, obviously, if that was on the table. But that's the best case scenario. You have to play, as Craig said, you pretty much have to be one of the 2 or 3 best teams in baseball in the second half to give you a chance to make the playoffs.
What in anybody's mind watching this team for 81 games has said, oh yeah, they got it in.
Now, if you'd asked me in spring training, do the Padres have the ability to be one of the 3 best teams in baseball? I would have said, absolutely, without a doubt, no problem. They can be one of the 3 best teams in baseball.
Absolutely. I would have said the exact same thing. I look back at the collapse I look back at 2015 as Craig was talking about 2015. That team was able to string together 5 wins in a row. The fact that this team has not won 4 games in a row in 81 games is the number one. It's the number one thing I point to and say, what run? You can't, there's no run coming. You have not been able to win 4 games. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. In what universe?
That's halfway there to a run.
Yes.
And you can't even get there.
You can't get what's a run in baseball? 7-8 games? Yeah, that's a really good run. You know, you've seen it before. You see other
10,
teams
9
do
out
it.
of 10.
Yeah, even a 7 out of 10. Paulie, win 4, lose 1, win 3. You know, it's there. There's been nothing that I've watched of this team that says they have the ability to rip off 4 in a row. You know why? Because they haven't done it. They haven't done it yet. It's astounding. It's astounding. So, man, I got to tell you, I'm really nervous. I'm really nervous about the potential of what could happen if the month of July goes anything like June, April, May. It's dire and it's franchise altering potentially. If something like that happens. So I'd say this is the biggest interview we've ever done at the worst time of in recent history, certainly of the San Diego Padres, because it just doesn't look like there's even a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, because you haven't seen the fight. You haven't seen the accountability. You haven't heard the accountability. I heard Manny say the other day he was embarrassed with the way he's playing. I heard Joe say yesterday, you know, there's a lot of fight left in this team. That's fine. I believe you. I do. And I do believe Manny's embarrassed with the way he's played. Manny has a lot of pride. But if it's not backed up on the field, then that's all it is just words. You know, it's just words.
They're the right words.
Yeah.
But we need to experience and feel it on the field and the play on the team. So AJ Preller coming up less than 1 hour, 9 o'clock. The president of baseball operations, general manager of the Padres, will answer questions at the midway point of this incredibly disappointing season, and we'll hear what he has to say. We got some callers on the line, Woodsy. 833-288-0973, The Fan. Kevin in Michigan's been holding on, heading to Cincinnati to see the Padres take on the Reds today. Good morning, Kevin.
Morning, Ben and Wood. How you guys doing?
Hey, buddy.
What's up, Kevin?
Good. I'm on my way to the scene of the crime, Cincinnati, for the weekend. And before I get to my point, you did mention that the game is 5 o'clock today. And that is because we got a big weekend in Cincinnati. Of course, the Reds, Padres, and good old Taylor Swift in Cincinnati for the weekend. So you're just trying to limit the traffic on the way out to the game tonight. It's going to be helpful in Cincinnati this weekend.
I heard that the Taylor Swift movement is interrupting Major League Baseball, which is insane.
The Reds even sent out an email. They sent it out to the media because if you're traveling to cover the team, they said you might want to get to the ballpark hour or two earlier than usual. Parking's going to be a nightmare because Taylor's pretty close. She's playing at the stadium down the street. Yeah, it's
tonight.
I've been there. It's a short walk between the two stadiums along the river there in Cincinnati. So yeah, they are all about Taylor Swift tonight in Cincinnati, Queen City,
everywhere. It doesn't
everywhere
matter.
she goes.
Detroit, Cleveland, Cape Cod. It doesn't matter where she goes; they follow.
Yeah, I'm trying to get a ticket, but I ain't gonna pay $2-3 grand for it. But I got my bike with me, so worst case I'll just stand outside and listen to it. I've already seen her before, so I'm not gonna get a serious case of FOMO. But yeah, I don't know. I think everyone needs to calm down. I'm as emotionally and mentally drained as this team has made me and you guys and everyone in the fan base. Still keeping the faith. I'm still going to have a good time in Cincinnati no matter what the results are.
Good, man.
I'm still going to watch the boys. I'm still going to watch the boys when they come here to my hometown, Detroit, next month. I'm still going to go in late August to Milwaukee when the boys are there. And I'm still going to wrap up the season in Southside in Chicago with the boys.
I love it. I love that,
Kevin. I love that you're with the team. Let me give you one recommendation while you're in Cincinnati. Don't forget to not order the chili.
Yeah, avoid it like the plague.
Not good. Not good. Montgomery in, ribs, they're good in Cincinnati.
Yeah, I was thinking about it last night. I was pretty fired up on the YouTube stream yesterday, obviously.
Oh, were you?
I mean, yeah, a lot of it was about the architect of the team. Certainly, a lot of it was about the really poor execution on the field. I've always been. It's weird because the manager falls kind of somewhere in the middle for me, right? Actually, not in the middle. I'm always reluctant to blame the manager, but I am willing to blame the general manager, and I am willing to blame the players, right? And the manager for me is. He's a manager of big league ball players, professional ball players. He puts the lineup together with some help, I would imagine, and some direction and some gentle nudging from AJ Preller and his analytics team or whatever. And they come to a lineup. Then when the game starts, can you question Bob Melvin's bullpen management? Sure, you can. Bob Melvin also has no one in his bullpen he can trust. Whose fault is that? It ain't Bob Melvin's fault, right? In a lot of cases, like Reese Kinnear having to pitch the other night, that's not even Reese's fault. He's not a quality big league pitcher. And if that was the best we have to go to, then that also doesn't fall on Bob Melvin, and it doesn't fall on Reese Kinnear. It falls on AJ Preller. And I think I'm always more reluctant to blame a manager than I am to blame the players and the general manager, the architect of the team. I built this building. If it's falling down around you guys, that's on me if I'm the GM. And when there's no one to go to, when you pick up the phone and there's really no one at the end of the line that you trust, how's that on the manager? It's that to him is basically that's throwing darts at a board at that point. It's throwing darts at a board. I got my selection of 5 guys that aren't good. They're not good right now. And with really no hope of getting better. If I can just get to the back end, you're playing baseball, Ben, counting on a lot of luck and a lot of things falling your way. You got to get 9-10 runs here because the bullpen could serve it up. I got to get to Josh Hader at the back end. I'm praying for a ground ball double play. Like
there's, as a manager, all I ask is, be a steady hand on the wheel of the ship.
Don't be like me. Don't be super emotional.
Be prepared for whatever situation. Baseball's unpredictable, but be as prepared as you can be when it comes to the little moves you can make during the games. Pinch hitters, pinch runners, replacement fielders. We got on Bob for not putting Ha-Seong Kim out as a defensive replacement that day when Rougned Odor committed the error. It's like, hey, could have gone out an inning earlier. You might have dropped the ball on that one.
We won that game.
They won that game, and that's a small thing. I had someone complain on my feed up by pinch hitting Brandon Dixon for Rougned Odor. When the bases were loaded, Padres had a chance to really blow the game open. End it. What was that? The top of the 5th or 6th inning, I think.
Yep.
Padres loaded the bases with 2 outs. The Pirates went to the bullpen to bring out a lefty to face Odor, and Bob Melvin quickly countered with Brandon Dixon, who's been swinging the bat pretty well lately,
better,
and get the righty versus lefty matchup. And my timeline, the guy said, hey, did Bob even look at the numbers this year? Odor actually has a higher batting average against lefties than Dixon does. Why would you make that move? Well, it's a valid stat, but it's also valid as a manager to go with long-term trends like righties are better against lefties. This is not a secret of baseball. That is a well-known thing. And if you always go with the short-term stat over the long-term truth of baseball, I think that's not a great way to manage. So he went with the long-term truth. I've got a righty. He's swinging the bat well. He's coming to see a lefty. Swung at the first pitch. He lined out to center.
Hit it hard.
Hit it well. Didn't work out for the Padres. I don't blame Bob Melvin for that, though.
Yeah,
now, maybe Odor would hit a grand slam. We'll never know.
Again.
But that's not a bad decision by Bob Melvin, in my opinion.
It's just a decision. It's a decision. And sometimes you have to make those calls as a manager. And that one didn't work out in his favor. That being said, we're at the point now where it's like, number one, we're having to pinch hit Brandon Dixon for Rougned Odor. Say that sentence again. Say it 3 times fast.
Now that's going back to the general manager.
Correct.
Not the manager.
Say it 3 times fast. I can't believe
tongue twister.
I can't believe we didn't leave Rougned Odor.
Pitch hit Brandon Dixon for Rougned Odor. Pitch hit Brandon Dixon for Rougned Odor. Pitch hit Brandon Dixon for Rougned Odor. It's not really a tongue twister.
That's not what was my point at all. My point was, say it again on a championship caliber team, allegedly, you're pinch hitting. Oh, man, I can't believe we didn't leave Rougned Odor in to hit for Brandon Dixon, or conversely, put Brandon Dixon in to hit for Rougned Odor. That's the bigger problem, guys, other than a one-time decision to play a matchup. That's the bigger decision.
There's one shining bright light of positivity on this team right now. I want to talk about him coming up. Paulie's going to give us a couple of headlines. We'll set the stage for the A.J. Preller interview and then talk to the GM. All coming up soon, within the next hour here on Ben and Woods. We'll be right back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. All guests on Ben and Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. We did a special emergency YouTube broadcast yesterday afternoon after the Padres lost their 5th in a row. Woods actually dropped the mic at the end. Got so fired up and I think downright mad there at the end. You just hung up on us essentially, and Paulie and I were left to say goodbye to the everyone who tuned in, and we had a ton of people who joined us, so thank you if you were on the stream. Some different people got in who don't get to do it in the morning. I'm assuming you listen on your way, maybe to work in the car, but maybe in the afternoon you had a chance to try out the YouTube stream. That's available to you every morning. Do you care to discuss what got you so hot?
I mean, if you want to.
There was a former radio host in town who made an appearance on a national show yesterday. Actually, an Odyssey national show yesterday.
The Odyssey too.
In which I believe, what was the word he used to describe the San Diego media, Paul?
Gutless.
And while that may not have been directed at us at all, maybe it was directed at Bryce Miller, or maybe
plenty of other comments.
Maybe it was directed at the coach John Quintero. I felt like there might have been at least some of that gutlessness pointed in our direction from that former host. And I disagree with that assessment. Surprise, surprise. I know you do as well, but we're going to get a chance to prove it coming up at 9:00 when we talk to AJ Preller.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of that guy's shtick over his long career was performative. I do. And I think a lot of people in this business are very performative. I'm not a performative person. You're going to get happy me when I'm happy, and you're going to get really pissed off me when I'm pissed off. You guys can speak to it. I mean, Paulie knows, Paulie, you know, and you guys both know this. I don't really like controversy as far as like starting things and taking shots, unless shots are lobbed at me first. I never will start anything. Never. I will never come on and rip somebody in the media because I know how hard the job of being in the media is. Unless, you know, it's lobbed in my direction first. And, you know, it's not the first time it's happened this week. It's not the first time it's happened this year. But yeah, I just, you know, at this point, sitting in a basement somewhere begging for relevance is just, it's really a cautionary tale for me. I look at people like that and I go, you know, and I said it, that's how I ended the thing, is I said, I hope when my time has come, could be tomorrow, I hope when my time has come, I'll know when it's time to walk away, instead of desperately grasping at one last shred of D-level celebrity that radio and media provides.
I'll tell you what, the former radio host wasn't the only one who did it. Scott Van Pelt, in a less direct, much more offhand way. I was watching last night, and he pulled up a graphic that had the Mets and the Padres record and payrolls, and talked about their first half struggles. And Scott, maybe just because he's not as close to the situation here, he's based on the East Coast, he said, man, it feels like every second it's Mets are flailing, Mets are overpaid, Mets are, what a disaster of a season, and no one's hearing anything about the Padres. And he said maybe it's the differences in the media in the two towns. Maybe there's just no back page in San Diego that attacks the Mets like you see in New York all the time. And
do you have the the print media is way different in New York. I'm going to give you that.
Yeah.
Do you have the Billy Epler interview still saved?
I can find it.
Find it, would you? And I want you to hear just how tough the New York media was on Billy Epler. Okay. And then go back and listen to Ben and Woods from Wednesday and listen to that 4-hour show of pounding.
While Paulie does that, I was wrangled a little bit. You know how much I love Scott Van Pelt,
he's
my
great.
favorite Sports Center anchor. And I felt it was a bit of he didn't have anything to support his argument other than, yes, it's New York and they are inundated with it. Of course they are. We could talk about the Padres' struggles every second and ask every tough question. It's never going to break through like the New York Post, you know, putting a headline out there about the Mets, a pithy headline about how bad they are. So it's comparing apples to oranges a little bit. But I think you're right. I don't think inherently the New York media is really any tougher than anywhere else.
You mentioned not wanting to act impulsively. Sorry, right here. Not wanting to act impulsively or fire somebody for the sake of firing somebody. Can you say definitively that Billy and Buck will remain in their jobs through the season?
It's not a tough question, and I will ask AJ Preller the exact same question. That's not a hard question at all. Yeah,
Very gutless of you.
Yeah, I know, very gutless. More. There's another question asked of him.
As professional questions should be. They are direct. They're relevant. They're to the point. It's not a gotcha session.
No, it can't.
And I hope AJ doesn't feel like he's coming on to get ambushed by
Billy,
us.
what is concerning you the most right now with where this team is?
I'd say that.
Jesus, is he okay? Is Billy Epler okay, man? If we're gutless, they're gut full in New York. Hey, what's your biggest concern? I would be so embarrassed of myself if I asked that question today. And in fact, I mean, we kicked around ideas last night for questions to ask AJ Preller, and I said there aren't going to be any of those questions of like, give me your assessment. I want to know your assessment of the Padres. You don't have to. We all have eyes. We all watch. We know we see what we see, man. Your assessment better be the same as ours. This is terrible and unacceptable. I'm actually going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I
I
respect him enough
that
I know he's not going to say it's not as bad as all you people think.
No.
God, people are overreacting so much. We're not bad. We're just it's just been a rough stretch. We'll be okay. I respect him too much. I know that can't possibly be the answer to the question. To a team that's 7 games under 500 with the payroll and the talent that they've put together, that's not an answer AJ would even dream about giving. I'll respect him enough for that. I wanted to say something positive. We're at the bottom of the hour. I'll make it quick. Woodsy, and this is not a trick question. I'm not trying to ambush you. Is Ha-Sung Kim the best player on the Padres?
No,
of course not. Not the most talented. Doesn't have the best numbers overall, certainly offensively, and he certainly doesn't have the career numbers. Despite that, I would like Ha-Sung Kim to be the Padres All-Star representative. I think he has earned it and deserves it as much or more than anyone. And I can make a case for Michael Wacha. I don't really want to see Josh Hader as the Padres All-Star representative. I've told you, I think Tatis should be there, and if he's there along with Ha-Sung Kim. But to me, if there's a person who has played all-star caliber baseball in a tough situation in the first half and done it almost every day that he has come out there and shown the qualities you want to see in a baseball player of improving and battling and, fighting to the end of games and getting better at fastballs where everyone else has gotten worse, it's Ha-Sung Kim. And I thought, as negative as everything is right now, we need to say that about Ha-Sung Kim. And what a fine ball player he's turning into for the Padres.
You're not going to get any argument from me there. I love the guy. I love how hard he plays, and I love how much he cares. And I wish I saw that from the other 8 sometimes on the field.
Maybe they all just need looser helmets.
Yeah,
and they look like they'll be playing faster when it flies off as they're running around the bases.
Yeah,
right, you hold this franchise accountable better than anybody I know. Who's accountable now? Who's taking the heat for this terrible start?
Well, nobody's taking the heat yet because the media in this community right now is gutless. I mean, somebody should be screaming and yelling aside from what I've written on my website and what I've done on my podcast.
Why did you do that to Woods, Paul? He didn't need that. He's left now.
I knew that would.
He's left. All right. Well, at least we got some Rhino Report headlines coming up next. And then AJ Preller. Do not go away.
How you doing, buddy?
On San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3.
Let me plug my podcast quickly and my newsletter and my daily emails to Adam Klug begging for a job.
We're the gutless fan here. This hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by California Coast Credit Union. With MasterCard Local, CalCoast Credit Union members can earn 5% cash back on purchases made with CalCoast MasterCard credit and debit cards every time they shop at participating businesses. Learn more at calcoastcu.org/shop-local. About 20 minutes away from talking to the president and general manager of the San Diego Padres, AJ Preller, and I think we're as prepared as we're going to be.
Yeah, I'm tingly excited.
Maybe the most prepared. I don't know if that's good or bad, but maybe the most prepared we've ever been for an interview.
I think it's a good thing. I think preparation in this. Sometimes I don't like to prepare a lot. I like to let the game come to you a little bit, but in this case it was imperative. It's got to have the right tone, and it's got to, people need answers, and you look at Petco Park selling out every single day, and you look at I saw some pictures of FanFest, and it reminded me. I went, oh my God, this was a city filled with so much hope, and the NLCS last year was fantastic. That being said, that's over. It's over. There's nothing you can do about it. And the unfortunate business of sports sometimes is, what have you done for me lately? And it's the unfortunate business of radio too. Sometimes it's like, we had a really good show Monday. Yeah, well, Tuesday was terrible. What are you going to do today? And that's the hand you get dealt when you're the president of baseball operations, when you're Bob Melvin, when you're Manny Machado. Manny continuing to reference his baseball card and stuff like that. It's great. You're right. And I will buy into, you have it in you, and you have it in you to do it consistently. But it's such a business of, what have you done for me today? How did you help me win a game yesterday? You didn't in that case. Your baseball card didn't help you yesterday with an 0 for 5. And that's listen, man, that's what they signed up for, and that's what they make. What's a paycheck of his look like? You know what I'm saying? And that's what every 2 weeks I see what comes in my account, and I go, all right, cool. I mean, you just soil yourself if you're Manny Machado and you see what comes in your bank account every single week.
I feel like Jake Cronenworth's starting to feel that way, and he hasn't even gotten to his money yet. His extension doesn't kick in until next year, but just knowing that you're going to be paid that kind of money feels like it might be weighing on someone like Jake right now. Ultimately, though, I know that we're not going to please everybody with this interview. Some people are going to say if AJ doesn't walk away feeling like he was just mauled by a bear, then they went soft on him. I doubt we'll get many texts or emails or tweets. Guys, you were just too hard on AJ today. Gotta let up on him. We'll get there. You should have been even harder on him.
For sure.
But
and that also comes with.
I promise you, we are going to ask unvarnished questions. We can't make him say anything in particular that you want to hear, but we can ask the questions, and then we will respectfully listen to his answers, and then we will ask another question that we think needs to be addressed, and we will get another answer from him, and that's how it goes. I know I'm Ben-splaining an interview right now, but feel like I kind of need to as we get ready for this one coming up at 9:00.
Timmy says, let's ask some real questions, no flagship questions. All right. It's like I said earlier in the show, we are in a weird position. We've interviewed AJ Preller enough to know that he's not going to come on here this morning in tears and say he's sorry for what's happened.
For example, I'm not going to ask about the new biomechanics relationship with PLNU today. No. Probably a valid, good thing that the Padres are doing.
Right.
Creating a real biomechanics lab. Joe Musgrove went there recently, to test out his elbow and his ankle when at the start of the season. Great. Not going to be discussed today with AJ Preller. That would be a flagship question.
I do like what Charisma says. All right, AJ, first things first. What the F? Believe me, if we were on Sirius Sirius Satellite Radio, I probably could ask that question, and I would do that if I could. I've got a family to support as well. I got 2 little kids. Guess what? They love the Padres. And my little son yesterday, again, watching this team was like, I can't believe this. I cannot believe it. It's the Pirates. Very, very smart kid, knows it. But guess what? Woke up this morning, repping his Padres hat. That's how he does. And that's how we do too. I mean, we're going to continue to follow and root hard for this team. I'm going to be rooting like hell for him tonight. but I need to see something, and I think the fans deserve better than what they've seen out of these guys this year.
Yeah, I'm going to be a San Diegan and a Padres fan for the rest. I was before I got into media. I'm going to be after the rest of my life. And whether I agree or disagree with the current manager or general manager, whether I like the particular players at a given moment in time, I'm cheering for the franchise because this is where I'm from and this is what I've done. So that's not going to change. It's going to go forward, but we will get ready for AJ Preller. First, though, Paulie's got some headlines. Roundel report right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. They cleared that crash on northbound side of the 5 near Old Town, and that other crash cleared just up ahead near the 8, so speeds are picking up there. Now traveling on the northbound 163, just past the 805, we have reports of what looks like a recliner in middle lanes. And watch out for a stalled vehicle partially blocking the transition ramp westbound side of the 52, right at the northbound 15 connector. Coach Quintero and Joe Musgrove's choice, they're a different kind of dealership looking to be a solid community partner and deliver excellent service. Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Chevrolet, find new roads. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Roundel Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a oh yeah?
All right.
All right. Take me away, Paulie.
Eric in the chat asked, does he get the questions ahead of time? Did you guys submit those yet?
Oh, my God. I forgot to send him the questions.
Dude, we got 13 minutes.
Oh, no.
No,
we don't.
I said it in the chat, and I've said this many times. Been doing this 5 years with you, Ben. Once got
on the flagship.
I got a text that said, "Please do not ask about this." And I looked at the question. I go, "Who in the world would care about extending the netting?" I wasn't planning on asking, and I won't ask the question. It's just not because you asked me not to, because no one gives a rip if the netting is extended. So that was not on my bingo card of things to ask. That's honestly, it's the only time.
I will
on my life,
on my kids.
I will also say
That's
that
it.
on occasion we've been inquired as to what topics we might want to discuss.
Yep.
And I have no problem, providing a couple because if the person you're talking to is aware of, subject matter, it can be a much better interview.
Yeah, Dave Letterman preps everyone.
That's interview prep.
Today,
but
nothing, not a damn thing.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Brad Pitt goes on with Jimmy Kimmel later today. Like his publicist is going to, what direction does Jimmy want to go in?
Yeah, that's okay.
That's all
very
it is.
valid.
But
we haven't done,
frankly, didn't do that yesterday, by the way, with AJ.
Didn't do any of that for this interview coming up.
He knows what's going to come.
Yes, he does.
All right, let's start off in Major League Baseball. All-Star Game starters were announced yesterday in the American League. Jonah Heim catching for the Rangers. Yandy Diaz for the Rays at first base. Marcus Semien for the Rangers at second base. Another Ranger, Corey Seager at third base. And guess what? Another Ranger, Josh Young.
I think it's Young.
Playing third base. So 4 Rangers in the infield for the starting American League roster. Shohei Ohtani's your DH. Mike Trout in the outfield. Arozarena for the Rays in the outfield. And Aaron Judge, who's banged up.
He's out.
He was awarded. It's something you put on your Wikipedia page, I guess.
He's out.
He's not going to be playing.
So ultimately, with Judge out, Yankees, Mets, and Padres, with the 3 highest payrolls, will have a total of 0 players actually starting at the All-Star game.
The National League, Sean Murphy of the Braves behind the dish, Freddie Freeman at first base, Luis Arraez at second base, Orlando Arcia for the Braves at short, Nolan Arenado playing third base, JD Martinez is the DH. We talked about that earlier. Ronald Acuna Jr., Mookie Betts, and Corbin Carroll in the outfield for the National League.
That Corbin Carroll story.
Man, so
Very
jealous.
impressive. Yeah, no,
Man, so
very
jealous.
impressive. Yeah, no,
So
there is some jealousy there to have a player come up and
He's
right
so
right
good.
away
I
be
mean-
such an impact player. He's not just rookie of the year candidate. He's an MVP candidate.
It reminds me of Tatis when he first burst on the scene. I mean, Corbin Carroll's a great baseball player.
It's tough to win an
baseball
all-star
player.
vote as a rookie.
It is, man.
A lot of the country, and you're playing in Arizona.
Yeah, buddy.
A lot of the country hasn't even heard of you yet. That's pretty impressive what the Diamondbacks have on their hands right now.
I was dead wrong on the Diamondbacks, and I don't know if what they're doing. I don't want to say is their model sustainable. It's a really great model. I don't know if their season is sustainable. I don't know why. It's kind of like the Giants a couple years, Ben. I haven't fully bought in yet, and until I see them in October, I just wonder what they're capable
It's
of.
an uncomfortable truth that bad organizations sometimes have good years, even championship years.
But
and
I think
good organizations sometimes have bad years.
But
I'm
they're
I'm
not
saying
they're not.
the Diamondbacks.
They're not a bad organization right now. I mean, look at some of the moves they made as far as getting guys like.
I think they've hired some
Brent
good people.
Strom
I
in
think
there. Oh,
I think their ownership and how they've handled their stadium situation, and there are some very bad things about the Arizona Diamondbacks
no
franchise as a whole.
as a whole, I don't care about their stadium. I don't care about what they're doing around the stadium. What I care about is the way that they've developed some players, developed some young pitching that is really, really good, and some position players that are electric.
How about the Royals? They won a World Series.
Yeah.
I think they've been a pretty bad organization though, over the
Since-
last before and after.
And
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, does that make them a good organization because they made it all come together for a couple of years? They had 2 runs and they got a title out of it. Good for them.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's the dream
They'd kill
when you're
for
a
it.
bad organization. The dream is let's have 1 or 2 good seasons and maybe everything comes together and we win a World Series.
Well-
A good organization says let's consistently be there and then eventually we're bound to win a World Series.
And that's you can't call the Diamondbacks a bad organization and this one a good one.
Oh,
right
you
now.
can't.
Yeah,
No, you
oh.
can't call the Padres a good organization. At least
No,
not yet.
not yet,
I
not
think they've taken some steps toward trying to become one. With
And
Peter
they've taken some
Seidler
steps back.
investing in the team, but by no means. You look at their results over the last 10 years. Nothing. They made an NLCS once. That doesn't make it a good organization. You need to be consistent. And the Padres, there's one thing that they have not been. It's been consistent.
Yep.
Over their 55 years, 4
They've
years.
consistently underwhelmed.
Okay, well, that's fair. They have been consistent in the past. Not the way you want to be consistent.
Right.
Quickly, some more layoffs from ESPN this morning. Jeff Van Gundy, their top NBA analyst in game, and Jalen Rose, one of their top studio analysts, were let go this morning by ESPN. ESPN's done a lot of layoffs over the last few weeks.
We talked about Neil Everett a couple of weeks ago, one of my
Gonna
favorite
continue,
Sports
I
Center
think,
guys.
But
Yeah.
that's just a bummer, man. I love Jeff Van Gundy.
Yeah.
And Jalen Rose is really good in the studio, but Van Gundy's he's doing the color commentary on all their big games for ESPN, and they are gone.
Yeah, I saw a rumor that maybe he'll return to coaching. The Mavs interested in him as an assistant. I don't know. It's tough to get after all that time in the broadcast booth. I think it's tough to go back.
Maybe not.
Maybe
It's
not.
good. I mean, knows the game.
John Gruden didn't work out well for him when he
No,
went back.
God, it did not.
Tell you what, man.
Because the emails.
Paul's
right?
best impression.
It really is.
Don't look at my emails, man. My phone, not your phone.
I forgot about that guy. I literally, since you brought him up, it's the first time I've thought about him in 2 years.
Probably what he was hoping for in the last
Yeah.
couple of years. All right, John, how are we going to ride this out? You were going to stay so low profile, people are going to forget about you. That's how low profile you're going to be.
Still getting paid, man.
Lots of money. All right, and finally, guys, there's been a heated debate going on for the last few days. Ketchup, does it belong in the fridge or not?
It's, yeah, in the fridge.
Well, when you buy it at the grocery store, it's not in the fridge.
Right.
It's just on the shelf.
Right.
And when I buy it, I take it home and I put it on the shelf.
You do?
But then when I open it,
Oh, okay.
I put it in the fridge, right?
Yeah, I put almost.
So what makes this the debate?
What's the debate? You're not supposed to?
Well, apparently it's.
I guess when you go to a restaurant, it's sitting on the table. It's not. They don't bring it out to you cold.
No, it's never cold at the
Never
restaurant.
cold
It's
at the
just
restaurant.
room
Right.
temperature.
That's the
and
biggest
on
argument against
the
it.
diner
when you
table
go to a
there.
restaurant, it's
All right.
always room temperature. But Heinz decided to weigh in, and this was Heinz UK. So maybe this was more British people in the voting. But 63% of people said that they do store their ketchup in the fridge.
I do.
37% of people say they
Now,
leave it in the cupboard.
Do you ever get the sense that when you go to a restaurant and there's ketchup on the table in a nice Heinz bottle, that they're refilling it with like Hunts and not Heinz?
And I don't know that
they're
it's
like taking like an off-brand and putting it in the Heinz bottle to fool you.
Well, he's never worked at a restaurant. He wouldn't know anything about marrying ketchup. And for those of us that have
marrying ketchup,
no, it's a thing you have to do before you walk out the door. God, what a privileged life. You never had to marry.
You should
ketchup.
work one day.
I know.
No.
I know. Shell has to make the secret sauce for the burgers, and that's hard.
Go work.
She always says that's a tough job.
Go work for a weekend.
Yeah,
in a kitchen,
like the bear.
Yes,
chef.
And
yes, chef. Heard, chef.
You think
hands?
You think
corner?
Give me hands.
You think
behind
that sitting at channel 10 on your biscuit, editing audio and
2 chicken,
video.
2 beef all day, chef. Heard.
This guy. Marrying ketchup, you have to refill.
2 chicken on the fly.
On order, 1 AJ Preller all day. Heard, chef. General manager of the Padres, in what I would say is a much anticipated interview. Joins us next year on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Go away. This hour on Ben Woods brought to you by Mossy Infinity, luxury that moves you. Let's get into a couple of the particulars before we bring AJ Preller onto the program. Padres wrapped up the first half of the season yesterday, mathematical midpoint with a record of 37-44. They are sitting in a season worst 7 games under 500. They are on a 5-game losing streak. Padres trail first place Arizona by 10.5 games in the National League West. They are 8 games behind the San Francisco Giants, who currently hold the 3rd and final wild card spot in the National League. At this point, too far to even say you're in a race for a playoff spot.
Yeah.
You'd have to play well for a month just to kind of get to the point where you are now legitimately in a playoff race. And I think that's how the second half of the season is framed going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you have 81 games to figure it out, but it does feel right now like being in a race. No, at this point, it feels like a race to 500, right? I mean, that's
That's
season
the
high.
first step,
Yep.
and that would be a big step.
Yeah,
that playing just 7 games above 500 over any stretch has been something that this team hasn't been capable of in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
Because as you said, when you only win 3 games in a row at most, I mean, the best you can do over 10 games then is what, 8-2, 7-3? I mean, you can't make inroads. You can't dig out of a hole without going on a winning streak of some sort. You could put together a 5 and then you lose 1 and then you go on a 4 and then you start making some inroads. But if 3 is all you got,
that's it.
You know, you're never going to make hay. You know, yeah, if you win 3 out of 4 games every game all season, you'd be a great team.
Yeah, no doubt.
But that's not going to happen. You need to go on more extended runs, play more consistent baseball to get there.
Sure.
So I think that's the first thing that you're looking for in any semblance of the Padres coming back and getting back into the race in this season.
All right, we are vamping because we are waiting for AJ Preller to call in.
Which is fine. We've got all the time in the world.
We do.
This entire hour could be his if he wants it.
Sure.
So we will just wait patiently, and maybe he's got something important. Hey, if he's got an important phone call to make, we don't want to be the ones that stand in the way.
Yeah,
he's got important stuff.
I want to be the
hopefully
one
that he's doing. But yeah, no,
what's more important than
I've been told he's about to dial us out.
So
what's more important, Benny, than addressing these Padre fans this morning?
I think it is. I think it's pretty critical.
I do too.
Again, I think it's a good thing that he agreed to come on today. At the midway point, and most managers or GMs will assess their team at the midway junction of the season. I would think that we will hear from Peter Seidler sometime in the near future as well, and his thoughts are going to be extremely valid on what has happened so far this season as well for the Padres. You can help me, Vamp. You know, it doesn't help me for you to sit there silently while we awkwardly wait for a phone call. But there it is.
There it is.
All right. So we've set the stage over the last 3 hours. I don't think anyone is under any delusions about what's coming up over the next few minutes. But, as we get them on the line, let's go out to our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline and welcome to Ben Woods, the president of baseball operations, general manager of the San Diego Padres. AJ Preller is with us this morning here on 97.3 The Fan. AJ, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, AJ, so today is, it feels like one of those days where the entire fan base is listening. You usually feel that around the trade deadline around here as well. But I thought a good place to start was just kind of by giving you the floor a little bit, just for a minute to kind of address the legion of disappointed Padre fans that definitely expected to be sitting in a better position than 7 games under 500 at the halfway mark. So if there's anything you wanted to say to Padre fans out there, what would it be?
No, I mean, I think from my standpoint, ultimately, I'm responsible for the for the product, the team, and what we see, and I think we all feel it. I think from my standpoint, it's we're frustrated because we feel like we have a team that's played with one step away from the World Series last year, and I think from our standpoint, expect to build on that this year. And, it hasn't happened for us so far in the first half. And, I know myself and, Bob and the group, every single day we're doing everything we can in terms of like asking questions, and like expecting us to play better baseball here in the second half. And, I believe in this group. I believe in this team. And, I know we have, I saw it, we've all seen it here, that we have the ability to play good baseball. And I think we're all frustrated when we don't do that. And I think from my standpoint, understand that, expect things to change here going forward, and, expect us to get in a position here where we get into the race and, eventually play in October. And that's the goal here going forward.
AJ, oftentimes a struggling team, the blame ends up on the manager. I know it's always not one person, but with the New York Mets, Buck Showalter just got a vote of confidence from Steve Cohen for the rest of the season. Can you say the same about Bob Melvin moving forward?
Yeah, Bob's done a lot of winning. He's been through a lot of pennant races and guided his teams in the postseason. I think he got us where we needed to be last year and one step away from the World Series last year in the LCS. And I fully expect him to be the guy that leads us back into the postseason here this year.
Talking to Padres General Manager, President of Baseball Operations, AJ Preller here on Ben and Woods. AJ, we brought in veterans. We have veterans here, yet seemingly every day the veterans are asked, what's wrong with this team? Why isn't it clicking? And really no one has the answers. And what is the explanation behind that? Veteran leadership typically can right the clubhouse. And, at what we're seeing on the field, the inability to string together even 4 wins in a row, it's certainly frustrating for fans. I know it's frustrating for the players, but why can't anybody pinpoint what exactly is going wrong?
Yeah, again, I think we, I think probably like the biggest thing, like so far in the first half, you win games as a team and kind of that collective fight, as a group. I think that's, we've got to get better from that standpoint. I think, offensively, we know we have guys that have a track record and are capable of, generating runs, putting pressure on the opposition. We just haven't done it well enough here so far. I think a lot's been made of, in big situations, runners in scoring position, et cetera. We've got to get better there, clearly. And, I think, again, from our standpoint, like baseball, it's a pitch to pitch battle. And and ultimately winning and then doing the little things from a pitch to pitch basis, maybe making a good decision on a strike zone, or maybe making, to win those, those pitch to pitch battles. And we just haven't been good enough so far at it in the first half of the season. I think, to me, focusing on tonight in Cincinnati, how do we win those battles every single pitch? I think, with our roster and our ability, I think we get focused on that. And I think you'll start seeing, good games, good innings, build on good games, and then eventually winning streaks coming. And that's been our focus here lately. We just haven't done it well enough, honestly.
And you talk about, and at what point though does that feel like, all right, man, 81 games have passed and we're still not winning pitch to pitch, and at what point does you say we got to try something else or someone else? I don't know. It's frustrating to watch. Are you seeing the fight from this team that you expected?
Yeah, I think overall with the group, I know, I believe in our team and our group, and I know that we have a group that can, that needs to perform better. And I think from our standpoint, I think, for my job, it's asking the questions of the players, asking the questions with our staff. That's to me, the biggest thing is look at ways that we can do it better. We're constantly every single day talking about it. And again, I do feel like, baseball overall, it's the first half hasn't gone the way we wanted it to go. But in terms of, having the people in that room, that, from a coaching standpoint, from a playing standpoint, they've done a lot of winning in the last couple of years, and a lot of guys that have done a lot of winning over their careers. We're going to rely on those experiences. And ultimately, I do feel like we're going to play better baseball here going forward in the second half.
AJ, let me get into some specifics on how that might happen. You mentioned runners in scoring position. How about your team's lack of success against fastballs this season? The numbers are out there, pretty shocking. Do you have any theory as to why so many of your players are struggling well below their career norms hitting a fastball this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like it starts with you've got to be ready to hit a heater and to hit fastballs. I think we've seen some improvement over the course of of the last month or so. But no, I mean, I think from our standpoint, that's where it starts. That's the foundation of it. And I think we talk to our hitting group and our hitting coaches about we're looking at mechanics, looking at body positions, looking at different ways to get ready to be prepared for that. Again, I think from our standpoint, we know we have guys that have hit hit fastballs and can hit fastballs and are capable of it. But again, like we're gonna from our standpoint continue to uncover and look and get better from that standpoint. And, I would expect that to improve here overall in the second half of the season.
And I want to believe you because I love this team. I do, and I know that the guys have a track records, but the expecting it to happen and then seeing it happen. I don't know. I've never worked in a baseball team. I don't know how you can tell guys to just go hit the fastball. I don't know. I don't know what plan is in place, AJ. But I know that the fans certainly expect more. I know the players expect more of themselves. Do you feel like right now? Do you feel a little bit like because you definitely probably feel the crosshairs on you from time to time? Do you feel like you're playing for your job right now?
I mean, again, I think the focus for us is the game tonight in Cincinnati. I think from our team and our standpoint, like I'm constantly asking questions and looking at it, and again, like I expect us to play well. I expect us to play in October, and I think the biggest thing that we can do right now is go out, win a game tonight in Cincinnati, get ready for the Reds tonight, and then get ready for Saturday after that. And that's the overall focus for everybody in baseball ops and what we're trying to do. And again, I think from that standpoint, we're looking at every single day how do we get this thing in a better spot, a better position, and that's the focus that I have right now.
I get it. It's the one day at a time adage.
And AJ, I respect that. I wouldn't expect anything less than you to continue to believe in your players. You brought them in for a reason. They have, as you said, they have backs of baseball cards, and you hope that they can do it. But there is a trade deadline coming up. It's not imminent, but it's a month away now. At what point do you have to change that belief and face a realization that, maybe you might have to start trading away and retool, whatever you want to call it, retooling, rebuilding, pivoting? How do you make that decision and not be clouded by how much you like these players and this team that you put together?
I mean, obviously, the next month will tell us a lot. And I think, from our standpoint, the attention right now is continue to look at this team playing into October and continue to look at ways to improve the roster, and get the team in a spot where we win a lot of games here in the second half. And, again, we'll see how things play out. And when we get to, throughout the next month, if things change, and we'll pivot from that standpoint. But right now, again, the feeling with our group is we're capable. We last year played deep. We've been in the postseason a few times, and I think from our standpoint with the trade deadline, it's about the focus about how do we add to this roster, how do we add to this group. If we get to the end of July and it's not in that spot, then we'll be ready to pivot if we need to.
If you want to add to this group, knowing that the best you'll probably be, even if you play well this month, is still just in a wild card race, are you prepared to trade top prospects like Jackson Merrill if necessary, or is that something that you are not ready to consider based on how this team has played so far?
I mean, I think it all depends on where you're at. I think obviously we made the Soto deal last year. We felt like we had a team that at that point in time may not been leading the division standings, but we felt like we had a team that could play into October, and decided that was a move that we wanted to make. I think from our standpoint, we'll be prepared. We'll be ready to do what we need to do. But, again, we want to, you want to see, the team respond and play well. And I think at that point in time, we'll make decisions that are best for the organization. It's not going to be about, it never is. It's never about, hey, this is a short-term decision. You're constantly looking at what's best for the long term, what's best for, the rest of the season and what's best for, over the course of the next, 5 years. And, we expect to be competitive for a long time. So I think we'll factor all of that in when we get into the deadline and make good decisions.
So, the one thing, talking to AJ Preller here on Ben and Woods this morning, the one thing I think Padre fans fear is you can't do your job from a fear perspective, right? I got to do this to save my bacon or whatever. You have to make smart, strong moves. But could you stomach, and could the locker room stomach, selling off 3-4 valuable pieces, guys that are already in the locker room now, AJ, that frankly are good baseball players that could help another team win a title if we're not in a position to make a run? Could you stomach that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've shown, different deadlines. I think we've at different deadlines we've stood pat. At different deadlines we've made small acquisitions. I think at different points in time we've made bigger acquisitions. And I think, from our standpoint, we have a good group, and in scouting we have a good group in the front office, and that will weigh out all the different possibilities. And again, like, I think the focus for us right now is, getting back in the race, winning games. We believe in this team and this group and the roster. And, I think from our standpoint, that's the biggest focus. If it doesn't, if that doesn't happen, we'll reevaluate that over the course of the next month and make decisions that are best for the organization, top to bottom, over the next few years.
I'm going to just put this one kind of bluntly because a lot of fans have been asking us this question. AJ, do the Padres have a problem with player development, both on the minor league level and on the major league side, when guys get here and don't perform as they have performed in the past with other organizations?
I think from our standpoint, we've developed a lot of players, and I think we made a decision a few years ago to turn a lot, some of the minor league prospects and players that we've had. I think we look up and, in some of these deals, some of the consolidation deals, you look up and, it's Blake Snell, or it's, Yu Darvish, or Joe Musgrove, or Josh Hader, or Juan Soto. And I think the ability to, you've got the ability to find players and then develop them. I think that enabled us to make those deals. And I think ultimately, the idea there is you've got to have, impact players, and you've got to have depth and quality. And if you're going to win a World Series, and that's the focus for us, is to win a World Series. And in order to do that, we've made some deals to get to the roster that we have currently and whatnot. And I think from that standpoint, again, I feel confident in our ability to, develop, sign, and, get players to that position. And, again, I think we see it every single day, and, sometimes it's in players that have come up through the system. Sometimes it's in players that we've used to make trades. And, I think from that standpoint, there's, I think that's, I have a lot of faith in our coaches and our scouts. And I think we've shown the ability to continue to reload the system, and feel like the system's in a good place right now. And I would expect to continue seeing players that give us those options and, make decisions accordingly.
AJ, you said you think that the system's in a good place right now. And I know, sometimes injuries happen. They happen to the best of teams. It happened to the Rays, happens to the Braves. You got to be able to pivot and go to what you have in your minor league system. And I know the lower levels of the system look good. Are you at all concerned with the higher levels of the system right now, and the ability to have if a guy goes down, somebody can come up and fill that spot immediately?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, like you've got to be able to, I think from our standpoint, we've had some guys that have come up, and fill different roles. We've got guys like Steven Wilson and Tom Cosgrove and the pen. Again, there's a lot of different ways from a depth standpoint, and we're constantly talking about ways to, make the roster better and make the club better from a depth standpoint. Again, I think from a system standpoint, I heard some of the talk a couple of years ago that, hey, like, what about the depth of the system? And, we look up, and last year at the deadline, we were able to make some deals and obviously go get Hader and Soto and guys like that. So, I have a lot of faith in like our development and scouting group, at the top levels. I feel like we have some guys that have stepped up and helped us out this year and, contribute to winning. injuries happen. Like, they happen for all teams. So I think you want to be as prepared for that as possible. And, again, I think the biggest thing is you got to get your players that you're expecting to play well, and I don't, when we played the Rays, you look up and, it's guys like Wander Franco and Rosarena and others that are, Shane McClanahan, those guys they're playing at a high level. And I think from our standpoint, we have guys we know are capable of playing at a high level. And I think that's probably going to be the biggest thing in the second half, is seeing them get to the point that we know they're capable of playing at. And when we do that, we're a really good team.
And we all know that Manny is one of those guys. And last season, I know Manny doesn't talk about injuries. He played through what apparently was a pretty horrific ankle injury and still put up MVP type numbers. And this season, those back of the baseball card numbers aren't there. Is there anything that you can share with Manny about why you think he's going to turn it around? Anything that we haven't been aware of that might explain why he's had such a slow start to the season this year?
No, I mean, obviously he had, the hand fracture, the finger fracture. I think, that part, again, Manny plays, Manny posts every single day. I think, all players, they're you play 162 games, you're going to have different things that you play through. But again, Manny Machado is one of the best players in the game of baseball. I think over the course of the last 3 seasons, for us, he's been an MVP caliber player. And, I think for us, one of the comforting things over the second half is, guys like Manny and I think getting him to the spot that he can play at, I fully expect him to be able to do that. He's working every single day. He's trying to, make sure he's putting himself in the best possible position to play. But again, I think from his standpoint, he knows he wants to grind this out and win, and he's a very talented player that has a big time track record. And we have talented coaches that are looking at every possible way to get him in a real spot to play well. And I expect him to play very well in the second half of the season.
AJ Preller on with us, Ben Woods here on 97.3 The Fan. Ben asked the development question, and I will ask the question about culture. AJ, lots come out recently. I know, I know it's made its way into the front office as well. The culture of the San Diego Padres, and I hate to paint with a broad brush, I do, but one of the things people were kind of DMing me were like, man, you got to ask why guys come here and don't perform sometimes to the back of those baseball cards, which they'll reference from time to time. What is it about the culture? Is there not a desire or a need or a burn to win here, where it does seem like sometimes guys come here and fall off a little bit? And what can you say about the culture and some of the things that have come out recently about the way business is done?
I mean, again, I think we have a group that we've been to the playoffs a couple times in the last few years, and you look at players that have come maybe from other organizations, guys like Jake Cronenworth that have turned to all-stars. You look at Josh Hader, you look at Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, Blake Snell. I mean, these guys are, they're performing, and they've performed over the last few years. Again, I think our group, it's, these guys work very hard. They're a very competitive group. We played, one step away from the series last year. That doesn't change overnight. I just, again, I know ultimately in baseball, we're all feeling the frustration. I feel it every single day. But again, I know, the way we've built it, it's a group that works really hard. We have an aggressive group overall. And, I just think, as we go through the second half of the season, that's going to show out. And, I think, again, knowing the character and makeup of these guys and their ability, I think that's gonna show out for us here as we get into the second half.
Yeah, and I think that's what Padre fans want to hear most of all is some sort of reassurance, right? That hey man, this is not the 2023 San Diego Padres, what you've seen in the first half. And it's gotta be different in the second half.
Yeah, that was my last question for you, AJ, because I feel like I hear from the fans most of all. They look at guys like Xander Bogaerts, signed for 11 years, but not performing yet. Manny extension, not performing. Jake gets an extension. He's having a rough start, and they're worried. They're panicked, AJ. They look and think, oh my God, is our future doomed because of this? What can you say to reassure, if anything, fans that that just because these guys aren't doing it and they are going to be here probably for a very long time, that it doesn't tank the future of the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, again, I think again when you have talented players, baseball is it's a tricky game, and I think again like the season is not just 80 games. We play 162 for a reason, and I think from our standpoint, it's going to be a focus on tonight, and it's going to be from our side, we're going to do everything we can to get this team in the playoffs to do what we need to do to get there. And again, knowing those individuals, knowing those players well, knowing our staff well, again, I feel like we have a group that we showed last year. It wasn't always a straight line to the LCS, and this first half has been a struggle. We understand that, but I think from our standpoint, like believing those guys, we invested in them because we know their abilities and we know their character, and it wasn't about just 80 games. It's about the course of the next 5 to 10 years. We think they're going to give us an opportunity every single year to play into October, and I think the fans understand that and know that. And now it's about like trying to figure out ways to get them to play like we know they're capable of. And again, like I think the reassuring part is they've shown that as recently as as last year. So I have a lot of belief and faith in that group. And again, I'm from my standpoint going to continue to push every single day and continue to ask questions of myself. It starts there, but I do expect us to play better in large part because I believe in the players that are in that room.
AJ, thank you for coming on, talking to the fans directly, for giving us a bunch of time right there. I do respect that, and I do wish you, of course, and the Padres the best of luck going forward. We want to see nothing more than this team turn it around and get back in it and win a championship. You know that we do. So thank you, sir, and hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
All right, there he was, AJ Preller on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. We got one short break left. We cleared everything out, so we're going to take a short break. You want to call in and react. The last half an hour belongs to you. 833-288-0973. We'll give you our thoughts on what we just heard as well. It's Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. What'd you think, Padres fans? You heard AJ Preller. He answered the questions, maybe not completely directly, but that's AJ Preller, and he, for good or bad, Woods, what I hear is a man who continues to believe in the players that he brought in here.
Yeah, I mean, what choice do you have?
Well, I mean, it may be his undoing, but I didn't feel like he was paying us lip service or he was simply saying what he thought had to be said. I think he genuinely still believes in the players that he put together, that this team can turn it around. That was a half season, and it was a bad half season, but it was just a half season. And he wants to give these guys more of a chance to be who he thinks or he knows that they are. But we haven't seen it yet, and we're going to remain skeptical until we do.
Yeah, I mean, look, I asked him if he was playing for his job, and he said, we're going to go on to Cincinnati. I mean, if
you can't help that.
Are you playing for your job? I mean, I feel like anybody in his position is. It's one of Ben's. You're right when you say, managers are hired to get fired and things like that. And I think GMs are the same. You hire a GM knowing you're going to fire him someday. And I did like one thing that I did like is him taking accountability for the roster that's on the field. I mean, that's his job.
First thing he said,
I
put the roster together. So if you don't like it, it's on me. He said Bob Melvin is not the problem. He gave him essentially the vote of confidence. He said he's the guy for the season, and I don't blame him for that. So, yes, he took accountability for the roster that is put together. Now, you say you want him to take accountability for the bad roster. He still likes his roster. And maybe that's the problem in the end. He still likes the roster too much for what it's produced in the first half of the season. We got all kinds of calls here, Woods, reacting to the interview. We will get to your phone calls right after our last check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. And this hour on The Fan brought to you by Cars.com. Looking for that perfect summer car? Visit Cars.com today. They have over 2 million cars for your 2 million summer possibilities. Cars.com, where to next? We are going out to the phone lines. Everybody wants to talk about what they just heard from AJ Preller. Let's start with Joey. Welcome to 97.3 The Fan. Joey, how are you doing?
Oh, man. Wow. First up. Wow.
Yeah,
I'm doing good.
Hey, buddy.
I'm doing
Little
good.
pressure on you
that
here.
made me yeah, that made me feel like 10 times worse. But I mean, yeah. You know what? I'm going to try to take out, all the emotions and and just think rationally about it.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that he showed his face. That means a lot to me, as a fan. I appreciate the fact that he just came out, and because that's not easy to do. He got absolutely roasted. He will be absolutely roasted, but he did it. So I appreciate that. But on to Cincinnati. Yeah, we don't have a bullpen. You need to hang up the phone and go get a bullpen that could pitch innings, because this is just like, we're going to continue to lose games if we don't have a bullpen.
There's no question. There's no
Nothing,
question.
nothing else matters. We don't have 2 weeks to see how it goes. We need to do it now. But I know you got a lot of callers, but appreciate you taking me. And
Joey, you know what? I think you earned first call status. That's a great point. He talked about Steven Wilson, having
And
to come
Tom
back,
Cosgrove,
and Tom
both guys
Cosgrove,
that are both- they're hurt.
he did throw a rehab start yesterday, Tom Cosgrove, so maybe he could be coming back shortly. But it's not easy to just go out and replace a bullpen at the end of June because you didn't have anyone you can trust calling up. It's not a problem for now. It was a problem 3 months ago that needed to be addressed. You apparently needed more depth in your bullpen, and you didn't get enough of it. Let's go to Thomas. You're next up on Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Hey, Thomas. Thomas, you there?
Hello, good morning.
There you are. Yeah, I got you.
First off, I just want to say whoever created those questions, absolutely wonderful. You put him on the spot. You put his feet to the fire. I thought everything you asked was perfect. And my biggest concern going into this conversation since yesterday was his deflection. And it certainly felt like most, if not really all those answers that he provided were really deflections. And just, I appreciate his transparency as far as him saying, I am responsible for the team, which was literally the first thing he said. But I felt after that part it was just more deflection, he kept renaming the same players. I mean, Darvish and Cronenworth, he talked about the lack of player development, but it seemed like to him there wasn't. So I'll make this very short, but thank you. It was a wonderful interview, wonderful conversation. I appreciate you guys, and you guys did a great job.
Thank you, Dad.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Gary Woods, ladies and gentlemen.
No, it was, listen, there's something to be said though too, Ben, and somebody made the point on Twitter of like, you don't lay out your strategy. You don't lay out your strategy for what's to come, right? And you don't say, yeah, I mean, we are in the market right now. We are absolute buyers or we are absolute sellers. And I don't expect that from him. He did dance around some of the questions.
Yeah, I asked him about player development, and I actually thought it was one of his weakest answers when he said, well, we developed guys enough that we could trade them for key players like Blake Snell. It is absolutely true, but I don't think that's what we need to see anymore. I mean, does anyone not agree that the Padres need to develop a couple of guys that get up through their minor leagues? And, they need a Corbin Carroll and Ellie De La Cruz. I know they did it with Fernando Tatis Jr. That was now 4 or 5 years ago. Where are the other guys? Where are guys who are even coming up and hitting 250
Benny,
with 15 home runs? You don't have to be an MVP. How about just someone who can come in and you add some length to your lineup and some depth to your bench?
How about a guy that can come in and throw 96 out of the bullpen?
There you go.
I mean, that's what murders me is I'm watching the Pittsburgh Pirates, who again draft near the top of the draft every single year. They're loaded. They don't spend money. They don't make a ton of trades. You're watching them rolling guys out in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings that are all throwing 97, 98 miles an hour. And you're like, who do we have? Where's our guy coming up?
HW on the chat says, "Holy, he didn't develop Tatis." Yeah, Padres get credit for that. Tatis
was 17.
He hadn't played one minor league game when the Padres traded for him. They do get credit for they didn't draft him, they didn't sign him, but they developed Fernando Tatis Jr. He's the one. He's the one great success of their program under AJ Preller.
And he's a
unicorn. But he's the one.
He's a unicorn.
He's the one.
He's a unicorn.
Now, yeah, they've gotten guys to the point where they've looked promising enough to trade away, but that's different than fully developing a guy. Now, when a guy like Jack Sawinski has success with the Pirates, is that because the Padres laid the foundation, or is that because the Pirates unlocked something? I don't know the answer to that.
And therein lies the genius of those moves, because nobody knows. Nobody knows. You can always both teams, by the way, get to take credit for Jack Sawinski, Emmanuel Clase. Both teams get to say, no, we knew he was going to be good, and that's why we were able to trade him for somebody else that
C.J. Abrams got to the big leagues. Wasn't killing it when he got here. Was traded. Munoz got up, traded him. He's been a pretty good piece up there in Seattle. I mean, I'm painting with a fairly broad brush, but I don't think I'm being unfair when I say clearly they've had a problem getting guys moving up the ladder to where they can help on the major league roster.
100%. I mean, and look, it's not all bad. I mean, you look at Steven Wilson, the guy was driving Uber, and AJ found him and nobody else wanted him. We've seen those guys come around.
HW actually paid to promote his comment. He says Seidler gets credit for Tatis, $35 million, $8 for the contract. No other GM in Padres history is allowed to do that. That's a good point and worth your $5 there that you just paid to promote it there on the feed. HW. Let's go out to Jed in Little Italy. Back to the phones on 97.3 The Fan. Hello, Jed.
Hi, Jed.
Good morning, boys. How you doing?
Good, man.
Hey, I'll say one thing. I kind of understand why AJ Preller, or why the team is the way it is now, because AJ Preller is very, very good with his words, and I'm sure he's very good at recruiting. But, Woodsy, I'm going to answer your question for AJ Preller. He is scared for his job, and if he's not, that's probably the biggest issue with this team, is someone that's just too comfortable there. And I have a question for you guys. if AJ Preller is scared for his job and possibly gone at the end of this year, are we comfortable with him making moves at the trade deadline?
Yeah, we've talked about that this week. I mean, $1 million question. I got into it with a guy on Twitter that his handle was Fire Preller. That was his handle, Fire Preller.
What do you think he's going after with that handle?
And so, but he said, we got to trade him, and him. I said, no, we don't. And he goes, yeah, we do, you idiot. And I said, buddy, if your handle is Fire Preller, then Preller is the one you want making the moves. Even if he's here, he's not here. He's under contract for a few more years, I think, is AJ. I think it's 2026. You know, I just, you wonder how long you're going to be allowed to see it through, especially if this thing continues to circle the drain, you know, and my God, if you got to sell another rebuild to this fan base, I'm afraid of what, you know, when other cities win a championship, they riot and they light cars and stuff on fire. I'm worried that that's going to happen here if we have to sell another rebuild to the
first ever rebuild riot in professional sports history.
Yeah, it's a rebuild riot.
I will say that's a question for Peter Seidler.
Yeah.
You know, AJ's job status. AJ can think what he wants, but a good owner has to be like a hitman, essentially. If you're going to fire your general manager, they shouldn't see it coming.
Correct.
Until the very last minute, hey, you're my guy for the next 10 years. You need to operate as though you're thinking long-term. AJ said, I'm making decisions for the long term. I expect us to be competitive for 5 years. We're not going to make a move. He did say that, and I like to hear that. We're not making a move just to, you know, save this season. We're thinking for the long term. And you have to have your GM thinking that way, and Peter Seidler has him thinking that way until the last minute when all of a sudden he comes into the office and goes, AJ, I need to talk to you. We're going in a different direction. I'm sorry, this isn't working out. But until that moment, you're the GM, not for the rest of this season, not for the next month until the trade deadline. You're the GM for the next decade. And that's the only way you can actually successfully get as far as you know.
You're my
that's what you're
partner,
doing.
Ben, for the next
Thank
decade.
you.
Just so I want to give you, Paulie, a vote of confidence.
Don't tell him what we're planning.
You're it. I don't ever want to work with anybody else. Okay?
Exactly.
You keep doing what you're doing.
You don't say anything other than that until the bitter end. When he silently comes in and pulls the trigger and it's over.
Yeah, and I certainly sympathize with the people out there saying, yeah, I actually feel worse now. And I'm like, yeah, I kind of do too. But, you know, there's one thing and one thing alone that can make me feel better about AJ Preller as a GM, about, you know, the guys on the team is wins. That it really rests in their hands. You know, it really does. And that's a good position to be in. You control your own destiny. And there's so many things that are left to chance and fate and luck. Not in baseball, man. You control everything. Win games, all is forgiven, all is forgotten. That's a good position to be in. We should all be so lucky. We can do the best radio in the world. As long as somebody's got a meter on their belt, we're in good shape and we're going to get paid. If they don't, we won't. We won't. And that is a crap way to live. Take it from me. I've done this 14 years. And the fact that all you have to do, and I know it's hard, but you're paid very well for it. All you got to do is win baseball games. And all of this goes away. The culture problems go away. The development problems go away. I mean, they don't go away, but if you win and you win a buttload, who's crying about this team?
They're on the back burner, at least.
Yeah,
they're still there, but
they're pushed to the back burner. You'll worry about it later. Just like we're now forced to worry about aging superstars in 5 or 6 years. I was the first person to trumpet, hey, I don't care what Xander Bogaerts looks like when he's 40. As long as there's 2, World Series championship banners flying, I could care less.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and play with your hat on backwards. I don't care. I can bat 210. You got 2 championships here in San Diego. And really 2 is kind of my magic number, not 1.
I'll take 1.
I'll take 1, but I want 2.
Not 1, not 2, not 3. Thank you, LeBron. How many championships are we going to win?
I don't know this quote.
You don't know the one from when he went to Miami?
Oh,
all those
that's
championships.
Yeah, that's
not
right. Not 1, not 2,
4, not 5.
Yeah. How many did he win? 1?
He won
3.
There in Miami?
Total. No, in his career, right? How many rings?
Back to back in Miami.
Who's better, LeBron or Jordan?
I'm
just kidding. I would never do that.
1 in Cleveland, 1 in LA, 2 in Miami. That doesn't matter. Let's go back out to the phones. We got Miguel next up here reacting to AJ Preller. Good morning, Miguel. How are you?
How's it going, fellas? It's been a while. Woods, hey, your boy Machado, I'm telling you, see no fire from him. I see him laughing at third base with the other teams when you're down 7-1, 8-1 against Pittsburgh. You know, somebody's got to lit a fire up as you know what to say, hey, I need to bring the whole team and put them on my back. But
yeah, he's done it. He's done it before. You know, I want to see it again.
Yeah, he's done it. But
he did it last year.
Getting out to see historic slow starts, and it's like, come on, you're not playing championship ball. Championship ball is the moment the first game happens. So he needs to step up, stop making excuses. Oh, you know, it's on me. It's like, stop talking and get to action on the field. But my point, guys, I was a little disappointed that I didn't hear you guys ask him an important question, which is, how is the loss of the TV contract of $60 million for the next 10 years going to hamper player decision, trades, acquisitions? Because there is no way the Padres are going to get a contract moving forward that's going to pay them that. Right now, they're trying to piece what they lost this year by getting people to pay $19.99. So I was hoping you guys would have asked them that, because I predict if this continues and it goes to the point that you guys brought up, there's going to be a fire sale where people are going to be traded. Why? Because you just lost $600 million that they were using to bankroll their payroll, to make and acquire trades, to forecast being able to sign Soto to a long-term deal.
Hey, Miguel, let me cut you off just for a second, because we're almost at the end of the show, and I want to address what you said.
I heard you ask the exact same question on Coach's show the other day.
And you know what? I think that's a question that should be asked of Peter Seidler.
Peter Seidler.
And that was not the question for AJ. It's a good call, Miguel.
And when we have him on,
I love you, but that was not the question for AJ today, as of all days. I think if you guys asked that question, you started talking about the stream, you know, the television rights, there'd be an angry mob outside.
I've seen a couple of people on social media say, "Here comes the fire sale." You know, they're going to get rid of all their high-priced players, and it's going to be like 1994 over again. What in Peter Seidler's past words, anything, would lead you to believe that that's the direction he's going to go?
He has said he's not going to do
Specifically,
it.
He said he's not going
to do it, Miguel. That's why I don't really care about their finances. I don't care about their finances. They did this. Peter Seidler has assured us of a long competitive window. I'm going to take that man at his word. That's all I can do. He's not going to give me, hey, Peter, I'm going to run by. Let me get a quick look at your books. It's not going to happen. So it's not the question for the general manager either. I'm sorry, but you know, I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I'm really not. I'm tired. It's been a crap week. The only thing that made it better, my friends from Swag U came in and brought us Swag U smash burgers, and I wolfed it down. It's already in my belly. I want another one. Ben, are you going to eat the whole thing?
I'm going to have at least a couple more bites. You know, I'm on my diet. This is the first thing that I've cheated on.
Oh my God.
In weeks.
Worth it.
And it was absolutely 100%, no regrets, worth it. And maybe I'm biased now, but I've already put it up to my top burger rankings in San Diego.
It's numero uno, my friends.
So.
3 locations. If you're in PB, IB, Poway, and even if you're not, it's worth the drive. I told you I took the whole family down from Encinitas into PB, and was like, yeah, I did. Yes, I did drive that far for the Swag U Smash Burger. You can check them out, swaguchopshop.com. You guys have made a really crappy week much, much better, because that thing is it's heavenly. It's absolutely heavenly, and I ate it on the stream. So
dude, it is unbelievable.
Shoveling it
every bite
in my fat mouth.
So delicious.
I want to thank the tier ones for hanging in this week. I know it's been hard. It's been hard for us, but not. Again, it's not backbreaking work. It's just really frustrating work, and it's always go Padres here on Ben and Woods. That's not going to change. 2-10 start. Beat the Reds of Cincinnati. I am begging you. I'm begging you. You know they're going to lose on Sunday. We won't be here.
Well, it doesn't matter. I don't really care.
Do whatever you want.
Wally, give me 1 second. Record this. I like Swag U Chop Shop. Add it to the list.
Yeah, put it on the list.
That's good.
Too.
It is
that was very
so
good,
guys. Thank you so much for bringing that in. You guys rule. And so again,
right.
but the tier ones deserve all the credit this week. Certainly, they're
You guys are amazing.
All right. Who knows? Maybe we'll have an emergency YouTube session. We got a long weekend, actually. We will be back on Wednesday. Everyone have a safe, happy 4th of July holiday.
Yeah, be
Enjoy
safe.
it with your family. Hopefully we get some Padres wins. Either way, we'll be here for you when we come back next week. For Paul Reindl, for Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Coach John Quintera coming up next here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.